Oh, did I do it wrong? Oh, figures.
Okay. The OMP grant is affecting our rate by 0.62%, the DSAP by 0.71, the police services by 6.5. All the other budget levy increases from all the departments is averaging about 0.84 overall. And we're thinking to propose $350,000 from the tax rate stabilization to give us an overall increase of 4.08%. The 1% tax increase equals $75,000. To take 4.8% out, we have to affect the total number by around $309,000, give or take a little bit. As we approach this, I'd like you to sort of consider as a proposed approach to the budget. First of all, we'll look at reducing spending. Secondly, we can defer spending where it looks like it may make sense. Defer loan payments or, where possible. Use funding pool of tools to cushion effects, tax stabilization, user fee increases, borrowing, amortize adjustments, and loan repayments. Just some things to maybe consider as we go through this. Okay, so we'll start with transportation. I think what we'll do is Joel, you can go over the budget, and then we're going to go through the various cost centers and ask questions and stuff after you've gone through yours.
Just for clarification, when you say go over the budget, you're referring to the police, not the police.
That just means that are you looking at wondering about the 0.84%? That's just the overall, that's all the other cost centers in there, okay, outside of police?
Sorry, I was referring to the department summary. Is that what you were referring
to? Well, I don't know what you were planning to do, so I'm going to let you do what you would like us to know, okay? And then we'll probably have some questions beyond that.
I'm on page 11. Yes, I just did. Yeah, so on page 11, that's just the department summary.
Sure.
The big changes are there is the mostly some of the my wages being attributed to leisure services. So I'm still involved with the department, but just not there as much as.
Yeah.
There are increases to the summer job services, which are our students, and that's the result of the wage increase, which I'm sure the council is aware of. And then the rest is just minor changes. There's nothing out there that's really huge.
Which page are you looking at?
Page 11. Of the,
That's in the initial preamble. He's just looking at the summary of the,
Oh, okay.
okay, which is just the overview, but it does have each of the cost lines in there. Okay. So those are the big items at your end, okay? And what we'll do is we're going to go through each of the lines, okay?
Sure.
Each of the cost lines.
Let's just, Bill, if you don't mind, let's just have him touch if he wants to on the capital spending now rather than later.
Sure.
And probably worth noting that the operating budget, the levy for 2018 is actually below what we had in 17. So at least we can see there's been some efforts made. That's good, thank you.
Capital budget is we have OCIF funding to do Elizabeth, Jean, and Catherine Street. And that will see the elimination of 2 bleeder lines, which is an ongoing cost to the municipality because we're just treating water and leading into the storm sewer. We should see also some sanitary sewer improvements in that area because we have some really low sanitary sewers at a low slope, and we frequently have to go there and check on a weekly basis to make sure everything is flowing clean. We also have an application in for the connecting link. So we're looking at doing from Fleming Street to 2nd Avenue. We have not heard word whether that project, whether we can receive funding or not. We still have we've had some problems with water meters, and that's it started from the installation, not from the installation, from the original after the survey. Some businesses weren't checked off, and then their supervisor left Neptune and has just been trying to get back and get back on track. So we have about 29 businesses that are still outstanding and just need to be reviewed. And then I have not received the action plan yet, but we're going to complete the project in the springtime. That's actually more water. So I sometimes do capital.
It's the same difference.
So I'll save biosolids for later.
Yeah, let's.
The grants, we got approval on any of them for under transportation.
No, well, for transportation, the only one that we really have reflected there is the connecting links. So we haven't heard that.
And what about Jean and Catherine? We're looking for funding there, no?
Unofficially, I think we're approved.
Yeah, but I guess the only thing I'm concerned is like we did so well in the other way down because we had the funding and we went out to tender early. And with this, we're gonna end up probably starting the prime construction season and our prices may be horrendous there.
True.
And we know that, I know.
Then
It's not like us that held it back at all.
Yes, when the province delays announcements for fundings, it hurts us northern communities from a tendering perspective.
With that in mind, if you thought it was gonna really hurt us, would it be practical to forego it a year and put out the tenders next January? I'm not saying to do that, I'm saying, would it be efficient though?
Sometimes what happens is they have
I
strict
don't have a
timelines.
window.
Good Roads is coming up starting next week. The province often has funding announcements. I can't say whether the connecting link will be one of those announcements.
Because we certainly saw it reflected at the other end of town, the south end, when we did those 2 streets. But between the tender we got and the next one, we're talking over $1 million, I think, if I remember right. It was tremendous amount of money.
Anyway, what we're hoping to do is get engineering money, and we're gonna probably do one or the other, okay? Unless we get the grant, and we get grants for both. And we'll either do the Elizabeth Streets, or we'll do connecting links. If we don't get the grant for connecting links, we're not likely gonna go ahead and do it.
Do it.
What we're trying to do is build up an inventory of stuff there, so.
But we do have the engineering done down there, don't we?
For the connecting link, yes.
Yeah, and what about Jean and?
Yes, it's just in,
Yeah.
I did a drawing review in late January, so there's just a few things that are gonna tidy up.
Mhm, yeah.
You could be ready to
Ready to
tender.
go?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Bill?
So let's go into the line-by-line item there, okay? And that is pages, starting around page 75.
4.
Solar, 4. 74, Bill.
Oh, sorry, 74, yeah. Okay. And the first item is administration, and you can see the impact of sharing your wages between
Rec.
rec and public works. So this is part, the impact on the transportation part of it. Does anybody have?
I'm looking at, I have a question actually too. Car allowance, and I know it refers to them using their vehicles because of the fact that if not, we'd have to have more vehicles in our force. But we're going up 55% over what last year's actuals was to what we're proposing. I know it's all nitpicking, but we're looking at dollars. Is there a reason to go up 55%?
Which item are you talking about there?
Car allowance.
Car allowance?
Actual to
Car allowance?
proposed.
Yeah.
Well,
That's, I mean, just so I'm clear, Counselor, when you're saying 55%, you're saying 55% above the actual?
Of the actual,
Yeah.
yes. Yes.
Okay, but saying we have been consistent with budgeting, 15,
That amount, yes.
that amount. I know I'm delinquent, and that's for when I'm traveling in the town limits, and we've decided to keep that separate. So, so it's still about the driving and for Mr. Parker and myself when we're not traveling for training. I mean, it can be lower, but I mean, it also has, that if we're still doing the driving, we could still be charging.
No, I'm just saying, we're trying to look, because we know we've got a big budget, and we're looking at every place where we can try to cut it a little bit. And Bill brought that up, all the areas, and that was one. And actually, I was also looking at travel and training. I know it's good and it's all the rest, but I'm looking at actuals, I'm looking at proposed, and it's up $4,500. And I'm not saying it's not worthwhile. I'm just saying if we're looking at trying to save dollars this year, then we look at everything. That's the same line, Bill?
Yeah, I just want to go back and look at several years, okay, because it can vary a lot. So we had $13,000, $13,500 in 13 or 16, $12,000 in 15. So,
I know,
I sort of
but
see
do we say, let's put 20,000 and travel more, or do we say, look, we're gonna make it 12,000, try to pick what you're going to?
Well, okay. We'll identify, what we can do is we go through here and we can discuss some of these things further
Yeah.
down, okay?
Well, let's keep them in mind.
Training. And travel. But I sort of feel generally right now that we should try to hold that in there, but we can go back and review that.
Well, we'll keep track of all the things we're looking at.
yeah, let's not undersell ourselves on those either. And I think it probably helps to be clear that the budget hasn't changed from 2017 to 2018. That you're referring to the actuals as versus budget, and that may not; these costs may not be up to date. You know, that at the time of printing, are we up to date fairly on January 25th with the charges?
So I printed mine February 15th, and I think they're pretty consistent with
Okay.
that.
So anyway, if we were to take something out, there's a couple of years that were 12, 13,000. I think, you know, like the training and the travel that's required for some of this and some of, you know, you probably go to the odd conference. These are valuable items there, okay? So if we were to reduce it, would we say $2,000 is a reasonable reduction?
I would think. You know, and I know training is very valuable, and conferences are nice to attend, you make contacts and all the rest, but sometimes, you know, we just have to pick and choose which ones we're gonna go to.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll leave those as possible changes, okay? We can come back and look at those after, but okay, so next item is a summer job service. And just for some background information, back in 2014 and 15, we spent about $53,000. And it climbed up to around 66, 67,000 when we lost a $2 an hour grant from the province. And now with the minimum wage increase, we're up to almost $84,000.
That's right, and that's just our students in public works. I'm
Yeah.
assuming here.
Yes.
Yeah,
And with that in mind, I'm proposing we hire 2 less students. Because we're not getting grants anymore, and the province raising the minimum, and it's not only minimum wage, I mean, there's burden and whatever it adds. When you raise the minimum wage, you add whatever taxes, CPP, and all those other things go on to that. So on top of the $2.60 or whatever it was, the burden's on there also.
How many students do we have?
8?
8?
And what happens if we take 2 off? What don't we get done? Less street cleanup, less grass cutting,
It just means that our full-time staff is gonna have to provide some of those duties.
such as?
Well, I mean, it could be like, normally we'd have a student maintaining the cemetery, so if we have to put more full-time staff cutting grass, council can look at, well, do we want to pay union wages for an individual to cut the grass? They do garbage cleanup, they assist in line painting on the streets. Not saying that it can't be managed, but I mean, council has to understand that when you're looking at efficiencies, do you want an individual at $14 an hour, or do you want an?
Well, I'm looking at the trade-offs, Joel, mostly. I know we do, I see them, we're using them usually 2 at a time, are going along all the side streets and the main streets on
That's
recycle, mess pickup and cutting grass and stuff.
But that's the playground maintenance.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about on the streets themselves.
On the streets themselves, I mean, there's also traffic control, so
Yeah.
when we're doing some work on the roads, that they're doing the flagging. So if we don't have the bodies, we have to use full-time staff.
Have we heard yet on whether we're gonna, I suppose, again, it's too early to ask the question. We don't know if we're getting our student grants.
My understanding, there's no more student grants.
So last year, we were lucky enough, we got one grant for one student, so we've applied again, but there's no consistency with
No.
them anymore, so.
So, yeah, that's what I meant. It's too early to know again. Okay.
okay, so we have a proposal here to reduce by 2. That would bring it down to roughly $63,000, give or take a little bit. Okay, office operations. We're seeing a fairly significant drop here.
Yeah.
Any questions or on this?
Unless there's some reason for it.
Union meetings, that's,
I just wondered why the actual is, do we have a lot less union problems or meetings, or? There's a big difference between actual and supposed.
That's right.
Well, actually, as far as our relationship with the union, it's strong, it's good. But it's also opportunities for us to, when we need to address staff, it just allows us a code to charge it. So we're not charging, say, a union
Oh,
meeting.
no, I
to
understand the reason, but when we look at it, are we dealing with a normal amount of union meetings? Like are they every month, or?
Well, we try and have labor management meetings every month. A lot of times I think it's more like every second month, or, and that's what we do there is we talk about some of the changes. We discuss some of the if there are accidents in the, like our health and safety, so we review so that we're sharing the knowledge. So an individual, let's say he cut his hand on something, and well, this was the outcome, and so we're trying to educate everybody.
Oh, those are great.
I suggest we sort of leave that alone. If we're looking at a slight reduction, if we don't spend that much, we put that money into reserves for the year that we have negotiations.
I was going to propose bringing back to last year's actual.
To be honest, if they have less, these people, if our employees are not at union meetings, we're still paying them. Am I right, Joel? These meetings are during regular hours?
Yes.
So to reduce this one means just putting the money someplace else.
I was just going to highlight that especially in the 1201 codes, it's,
Yeah, I mean, you're not doing anything, we're just changing 2 pages.
sorry, we do calculate all the wages for all our employees. We take out the vacation and the sick time. Then we have to distribute those wages throughout all these codes,
Yeah.
and 400, 500, 700. 300 series. So Councillor Yocum is right in saying, well, let's say we reduce by $500, we have to put $500.
Yeah. So you may as well just say leave this one alone, because we're just gonna change it into something else to change this one. We still will pay the wage, the same wage, we're not saving anything.
Well, we paid the wage of $757.
Yeah, but we're just gonna so we'll wind up putting it over in,
Well, we're gonna do
road
that anyway.
maintenance.
We're looking at proposals, that's all.
well,
here.
but you're not gonna change anything in the
Well, then
overall.
why don't we just put one budget with all the total wages for the year? not
Hang
divide
on
it?
here, let's not get into an argument with each other, okay?
Carry on.
Is there any consensus on, I know you want to reduce it?
I would like to leave it at last year's actual.
Well, you know, the year before it was $1,700.
Yeah, and the year before that it might be. And if we go over, it's not the end of the world.
No,
We're just looking at proposed, trying to keep our increases low.
Yeah.
We never not pay people.
yeah.
So where would you propose, if we reduce it, Joel, where will you propose to put that wage cost that we're gonna have anyway? In which cost center?
Off the top of my head, I don't have an answer for you.
No, okay, that's fine. The answer is really, we're not changing the bottom line by reducing this. Correct?
I would say no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next item here is departmental work, assist other departments. Is that what that is? I marked that down, but it wasn't clear to me what that was.
Yes, that's to assist other departments. So administration could need some boxes moved into the vault or something, and we provide that labor. There isn't a formal code for that work in administration, so that stuff would get charged there.
Okay, just for a little bit of background information, in 2014, that was 17,000, 15, 19,000, 16, 31,000, 17, 19,500, and we're proposing a $1,000 reduction in this year's budget from last year.
Some of those wages, Councillor, if I may just jump in there. We're looking at coding differently where, for example, in the past, stuff for, say, Winter Festival or was being coded in departmental work. So there is a request we'll see later, like in the 700 series, like Santa Claus Parade. That's where some of those wages should be going, so that when council is looking at, say, Winter Carnival, they're seeing what the true cost is.
Okay. Very
Yeah,
good.
I must say it's been good in the last couple of years. We've been doing a lot more of that. So we actually see where the costs fall in various areas.
Yeah.
Joel, does this include the vehicle maintenance we do for the other departments?
Yes.
Thank you.
Like police service.
I just wanted to
Fire
remind myself.
department.
Well, yes.
Oh, just one other thing to keep in mind when we're going back to look at those other years, we haven't always also allocated out the payroll burden. So some of those other years may not have had that if you go.
Okay.
too far.
There's also, just want to add too, that we're all full-time staff right now as well, so when we're doing the budget, we zeroed out all the part-time codes. So some of the full-time 1201 regular wages haven't been adjusted to account for those part-time wages no longer being budgeted for.
Okay. So we're at building and inventories, which is page 79. A little bit of background information. It seems to vary a little bit, but back in 2014 it was 236. Went down to 162, 182, 200, and we're asking actual spending, and we're looking at an $8,000 reduction in the budget from 215 to 207. I had only one question in this area here, and that was outside contractors. Well, I was just wondering what was being used for. What is this building and inventories?
This is the main department.
Okay, this is the
Yeah.
Public Works building. Okay, and so we're looking at a fair increase in the budget for outside contractors, but last year we spent $35,000, and the year before there we spent $35,000, and we're proposing a $24,000 budget for this year. So is that, what would these outside contractors be brought in for, just generally?
Well, we get inspected by ESA all the time, and
Okay,
they just gotta fix this, the work orders. I think we're looking at a new automatic garage door opener, which is beneficial for our nighttime employees who are working alone at night on shift, so they're not getting in and out of their vehicles, so they have that ability to come in
sure.
and then leave.
The cleaners are in there.
Oh yes, the cleaners, thanks Dave.
And there's also some paving in there for the grizzly we intend to purchase for sand, with some paving to give it a flat surface to place that grizzly on,
Okay,
rather than gravel.
thank you. Machinery and equipment, and I'm assuming that's the tractors and the plows? Or is that,
I'll let Dave answer that question.
that's page 80?
Yes. Okay. Yes?
You say machinery equipment?
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking at a reduction in the budget there. Back in 2014, we were 47,000, 60,000, 15, 58,000 in 16, 62,000 last year, and we're forecasting $49,000 budget for this year. So I think that's a pretty reasonable number.
I imagine you're reflecting the new equipment there, aren't you,
It
Dave?
fluctuates a lot, yes, absolutely. It's more modern equipment, and catching up with things like automatic greasing systems and things like the GPS systems we've been installing. But it also includes, sometimes you may have a bad year for tires. Well, a loader costs $10,000 for a set of tires. You know, maybe this year we eliminated, or maybe we did some in 2017. 2018,
Sure.
maybe we don't have any tires. So that number fluctuates a lot. The labor basically stays the same or just goes up
Yeah.
with the cost of living and all that. But the number of parts, I mean, unless there was a specific question or anything like that, it varies year to year.
Yeah, you can see it varied anywhere. That 4-year period went from $25,000 to $36,000. So we're actually forecasting to be lower than we were in any of the last four previous years. Okay, good. Page 81. I think those are the pickups. I'm not sure.
Anything licensed, or actually that travels the road, so that would include graders as well. And some of the other equipment.
And dump trucks.
There's more pieces, and our larger pieces are in this code. More of the tow behind equipment, that is in the 340.
Now this item is climbed quite a bit.
Yeah, I was wondering about if that's a change of codes or something.
it might be.
because It's been, I mean, there's a big increase over actual.
Maybe it hasn't.
Not really.
Yeah. So,
Percentage-wise, it's not really much going.
yeah, I didn't have the last 4 years on that, so. Okay.
But our actual is 69 and our proposed is 93
What are you gonna do?
The big area looked like we,
wages.
well, sorry there, Ron. What were you saying that
I said
again?
the big area is in wages. It went
Yeah.
From 69 to 93.
Yeah. Can we explain that?
I don't know, maybe it's the code.
I don't think so. I mean, that's all, it's all broken down by piece of equipment, so if I were to go in there, I could probably see which piece of equipment caused the increase.
There's a $4,000 variance from the 340, so it went down about $4,000, so there's four to make up there, and then you've got cost of living increases and that, so I mean, it's probably not quite as out of the books. If you take that 4,000, you're up to 83, so it's a $10,000 difference from last year. Could be a
$20,000 difference.
why am I reading that? Oh, you're talking the bottom line. Yes, that would include the parts, right?
No, I'm looking at regular wages only there.
Yeah.
On
We
state
looked,
wages as well, that's $14,000. Isn't it 93,750?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the actual was 69.
Oh, I'm looking at the department estimate from 2017, sorry.
and just to give you a little bit of perspective, 2014 was about 91,000, 15 was 73,000, 16 was 66,000, 17 was 69,000, and we had a $79,000 budget last year, and we're looking to go $93,000 this year, or almost 94,000.
Cynthia? Yeah,
Okay.
So you also just have to make sure you're including the part-time and overtime wages in that as well.
Oh, yeah,
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 because we only budget the one code, but it's spread.
yeah, but that's only
actual
$2,000.
Yeah,
yeah.
well, just when we're
Mhm.
going back and looking at the past
yeah.
4 or 5 years, and you've got to look at everything. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to go through it line by line, because if that's simply a summary page, right? I do individual budgets for every piece of equipment, so I can get back to you on that, where the difference is.
Yeah.
Sure, that would be worthwhile knowing why all of a sudden the labor changed so much.
I think I have some ideas. I mean, when we're short, sometimes we use the mechanics on plows, so maybe that takes them away from, but anyway, let me get back to you on that.
Sure. Okay, the next page is 82, and it's unclassified. I was kind of wondering what this one was. It looks like it's, not sure.
Aggregate resources, something, TRU.
Trust, that's the $100 we get from the Aggregate Resources Trust to fix our potholes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this category is sort of like where everything goes that doesn't belong somewhere else. So when the
Okay.
guys take vacation, their time gets quoted here, or sick time, and all that kind of thing, so that's.
Okay. Now, this was a pretty hefty number back in 2014, 430,000, 298,000, 270, 238,000, and we're looking to drop our budget by about $15,000.
I think that has a lot to do with the coding. Now we're getting people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it
This-
could very
this
well
is
be.
the area. And I mean, our goal is really to build in a burden rate so that when they charge out those wages, you get, a certain burden rate, and ideally this would be 0.
Mhm.
But we're not quite there yet.
And and these are all sort of fringe and wages, okay? A lot of it looks like it's in the fringe and payroll burden, so it's a general area. I suggest we just leave this alone. We're looking at reducing the budget.
Again, if you reduce
Yeah.
it here, it's just gonna have to go someplace else.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
It's nice to understand
Holding
it's
this.
coming
Yeah.
from 200 and something down, so
Yeah.
we're getting it in the right places.
Yeah. Next item is page 83, paved roads. And that varies quite a bit, okay, from 184,000 to 277,000. We're looking, I didn't have anything there. I thought it was reasonable, okay.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Page 84.
Well,
Well,
Sorry, Cynthia.
Question, just for clarification, is that where we put the $18,000 for the road signs? Or which area was that in? The big green line, the signs out here? Because I know council had discussed that at the meeting and we wanted to talk about it at budget time.
Is that not the one that's over on page 87? For the lane marker out here on number 6? Because that's where I thought it was, so I have a question when we get there.
Okay.
I think that's where it is there, actually.
So my page numbers aren't quite the same.
Yes.
Okay, we'll get to that then.
Okay.
And the paved road repairs are gonna vary from year to year, so we have to have a little bit of a cushion in there. But you're not out of line when you look at the total period. Admin, and that was just roadside recoveries. I'm not sure what that is, but we're getting $7,500 revenue, and we're not spending anything in the cost center. Next item is page 85, unpaved roads. And that area is, we're looking at a reduction in the budget of about $13,000. It's still running a fair bit over what it had been,
Yeah, it's over actual.
but it looks like you're looking at more granular and crushed gravel and more surface treatment and calcium.
Well, is that for maintaining gravel roads, or is that for, I don't think that would be doing more gravel, because that would come under your capital, I would think, if you were, unless you're just spot repairs, is that what this is?
Depends on your definition of spot repair.
Well, if we had a section of gravel road that
Yeah.
needed to be brought up a little bit.
Yeah, and then that's where this comes out of.
Okay,
So most of the 90% of our gravel road maintenance comes from here, pretty much 100%.
yeah. So based on what you need to do over 1 year from the next,
Correct.
washouts or?
Washouts, yeah. We're grading and we're finding that we're getting down into the base, or boulders are coming up, so we'll touch up a hill or a corner, and yeah.
Okay.
So I suggest we just leave this alone.
Just thinking.
Bridges and culverts, we're seeing, going back 4 years, we spent 43,000, 44, 15 and 16, we spent 26, 17, we spent 20. Our budget is 63, and we're proposing to reduce the budget to 47. And I guess it's anybody's guess of where we're gonna end up, but you must have got caught up for a while, and then you were able to understand for a while.
Yeah, we think we're in good shape. I mean, over the years, we've been switching a lot of the culverts from metal to high-density polyethylene, which has a longer life cycle. We do have a little bit of stock in the yard, and so, yeah, we're anticipating a favorable year in this section.
Okay.
I think that's fine.
Do we have any that we're happy with, that we're, I know we did some good big ones.
Not the large ones?
No.
Just one driveway culvert on the list right now. You often identify the culverts in spring thaw. So last year, 0 spring thaw. Spring thaw went to frozen culvert, and then, this year we'll see what happens. The spring thaw does wreak havoc on it, and also identifies you go in when you're thawing and you inspect them at the same time.
We don't have any more big ones outstanding. We did Jack and we did the one, subdivision.
Correct.
What was it, Bass Lake Road? We don't have any big ones outstanding.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Page 87 is roads, traffic operations, and roadsides. I think this is brushing ditches, picking up debris and stuff. Is that fair to say?
Well, I believe brushing your dishes goes in unpaved roads.
Okay.
Just some of this is our street signs. The traffic lights are in this area.
Bill?
Yeah,
Ken, let's use your hand up too.
okay.
This is where these lane markers are being costed out 16 grand for Highway 6, am I right?
Yes.
Well, as I said at the meeting where that came up, I'm just thoroughly against that. I just don't see that $16,000 needing to be spent. We see the police report, there's been no accidents attributable to the lack of lane marking. And in fact, it's suggested that because of where it would be placed, it would probably be relatively ineffective. And they haven't been there for, when was that last set torn down? How many years ago?
2007 was when that.
So, like, we haven't had them there for 13 years. I really don't see any need to spend the $16,000 there. Nice thing to have, maybe, but even our police department is suggesting not to bother.
And you had
Just my thought.
Yeah. Just to give you a bit of perspective in this cost center, 14 we were at 56,000, 15 53, 16 51, 17 61. We had a budget of 86, and we're proposing to increase that. And big item is $21,000 outside contractors.
20 of that being that light, the sign.
Okay, so we're prepared to reduce that.
I'd like to ask a question on that. I know you had a sign torn down. What's the height that transports have to be? Is it 13.6?
Around the 14 meter mark.
Okay. And I know they got torn down, I don't know why. Was it above 13?
Over height, yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't because of the fault of the sign, it was the fault of the transport being over height?
Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't our cost, we billed whoever.
There was no one charged in that incident.
Why?
Possibly talk more that. You have to talk to the police.
Because if they're over height, they should have been charged, just like everything else. That's why there's laws for those heights. The other one is, I was looking at the traffic light signs, and I don't know if they're strong enough. But they're much higher than 13.6.
For what traffic lights?
Like up here, there's those aluminum poles or galvanized. If there was only one cable across and the sign that was swinging, so if something hit it, it swings. You're telling me that one, I don't know if the
An
poles are
engineer
strong.
would never pass that.
No, well, that's what I'm asking.
Ultimately, that was a kind of a faux pas on our part, even hanging those wires, having that done. Like that we should, because of what the incident that happened, ultimately, so that you wouldn't be able to find an engineer who I don't believe certify a wire installation like that.
Okay, well, that's my question.
I think at the very least, even if we think down the road that this is the right thing to do, we don't have to do it this year.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So we
not.
take it out.
Take out $21,000 and
20.
Absolutely,
or $20,000.
I think you said 20.
yeah,
Take out $20,000 out of that
Absolutely.
budget,
yeah.
that portion of it.
And just a brief, just jump in to kind of answer some of your question. A swinging sign will actually either cut the support or will cut the wire.
I know it.
And MTO's not like that, to approve that, yeah.
This question.
No, I just wanted to
Yeah, no,
give you a little bit of
Yeah.
expertise
Appreciate
on
that.
that.
Okay, next item is school crossing guards, and we're really not looking to see much of a change there. We're just adjusting the budget a little bit.
For the added cost.
Yeah.
We're not,
Well, minimum wages have changed, and that may be partly why we're seeing
That's
an
it.
impact there.
that and burden.
Well, for the crossing guards, actually, they were at a rate, the increased minimum wage won't affect them this year, but it will next year.
If it goes.
The year before, we were quite a bit higher there, okay, so we've taken a lot of cost out of this.
So we've reduced the
Yeah,
hours. and
yeah.
the
Fewer of them too.
And you look at reducing it more once there's a new school built.
I suggest we just leave it alone.
Yes, you gotta provide it.
Winter carnival. Or winter control, excuse me. I didn't have my glasses on.
We could have quite a party.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, we're proposing about a 3%, roughly a 3% change there. Just to give you a bit of perspective, in 2014, 284, 226, 327, 316, and we're proposing to go from 300,000 to 310,000. And it looks like salt's gone up a little bit, and sand's gone up a little bit, and the rest of it's not too far.
We're actually coming below actual for 2017.
Yeah,
But I guess our winter, I don't know if it's been as bad or good, but last winter, which is part of this after January, for actuals, it was a lot more snow.
Still a lot of winter left.
yeah.
It seems favorable right now, but don't forget, we're also gonna have, this includes the next fall as well,
Yeah.
That's right.
November, October.
I suggest we just leave that
Oh,
one
yeah,
alone, and
absolutely.
if we have if they underspend, then we put it into reserve.
Yeah.
Well, that's the normal procedure.
Yeah. Winter control sidewalks and parking lots. Perspective, 9,500, 30,000, 35,000, 32,000. We have a $52,000 budget last year. We're proposing to drop it by about $8,000.
I'm assuming that's because you're trying to find kind of an average what it's been in the last 3 or 4 years.
Well, this is I think over the last, this code's only been around for the last 2 or 3 years. And that's something that the Ministry of Municipal Housing and Affairs, they wanted to see sidewalks separated in the budget, and we're just getting better at balancing and juggling the numbers, so to speak.
I think we had this discussion last year. We're still getting the coding correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suggest we knock it down by $2,000 or $4,000, okay? And it still puts it below any of the last 4 years, okay?
You want to bring it down to maybe 40?
But,
Yeah, maybe 40,000.
but we still come back to the same thing. If they're not doing this,
Yeah.
You still have the same amount of staff, so it's just gonna mean, all we're doing is shuffling it to another cost center. What's the point?
Yeah.
Well, I'll go with Bill.
Fine, it's not gonna change the bottom line. I'm good. Okay, reduce what?
Is that wages? You guys are talking, like, is that where you would want?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, Gary.
It's just gonna be transferred across.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, I'll live with that.
It's gotta go somewhere.
And if we have a reserve, we put it in there, it gives a little protection against the year that we have more. Street lighting.
Yeah.
Okay, back in 2014, we spent 139,000. Then it dropped down to around 53 for 2 years, 56 last year. I was surprised to see the hydro bill jump by almost 25% there. For two, or, you know,
I think we're still 2 months behind, aren't we?
At least one, yeah.
At least 1 month behind?
Yeah.
okay, so we may not have spent 48,000, we may have spent 60,000.
Well, right now, because I printed this more recently, so we're at 59,771, and then there will be one more month.
Okay, so that'll take care of that.
So,
Okay, that's all right, good.
And we've gone with all those LED lights. Haven't we? Look back and look.
2014.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
2014, we were 138,000,
So there's been,
and we're proposing a budget of half that amount this year.
as
So,
But
bad as it is, it's good.
yeah,
of course, then that got offset by all the increases since then.
yeah. Okay, page 153, building and inventories. I'm assuming the working funds here is just setting aside $90,000 for ongoing equipment replacement that we expect it's going to average about $90,000 a year.
Yes, so that's what I had done. I had taken Dave's schedule, the equipment replacement schedule, and looked at, how much we need to spend over the next 10 years or whatever, and then I averaged it out. So we'll put this into a reserve, and then we'll pull it out when we,
Reserve.
needs replacing.
Okay.
Vehicles and equipment light, that's an item, what would that be?
It's a sand grizzly.
Sand grizzly?
Yeah. And what that does is that sifts out boulders and large chunks in that to prevent it from getting in the truck and jamming up in the conveying.
So that has to be replaced.
Oh, we're getting a new one. We're getting,
Okay.
since we moved to the tandem trucks, they don't have the screens on top of the trucks anymore. They double as snow removal. So you have
Okay.
to treat them like a dump truck, so they don't have those screens on top of the trucks, like you see some of the back road Sanders have those. So we're gonna go with a separate grizzly, which is basically a structure that has a screen on it. You dump the sand on it, it goes through, you go to the other side, and you pick up the clean sand. So that's to prevent damage to the equipment and to sift the sand before getting in the truck.
We've had large rocks jammed with chain and it's.
Yeah. Now, last year, we set aside $16,000 in the budget for maybe something there, we spent zero. Is it possible to carry over that surplus to this year?
I'm
do you see
not
that,
sure
Bill?
that we spent zero on that.
Where do you see
I
it?
think that was the plow for the trackless that we had budgeted last year. There was an extra piece of equipment there. It wasn't just for reserve anyway, but with these,
Maybe we could get that brought up with some of the other items later, if you need to research it.
Yeah. So, because we underspent the budget and we had an item in there that we raised taxation money for last year in the budget of $16,000 for equipment, vehicles and equipment light, and I suggest we just see if we can't bring that surplus through over to this year to help offset some of the costs.
Unless it's like she said, it's
We'll leave-
spend somehow, or we can find out.
yeah, we can check.
Okay. Okay, so let's, let me just get that down. Okay. Next item is page 154, and that's paved roads. I'm not sure if that's entirely paved roads, but if that's the maintenance on paved roads.
That's your surface treatment.
Oh, surface treatment, okay.
We're really, are we doing a lot more this year than we did last year? Surface treatment? Because I noticed like for granular M, my God, 0 last year, 63,000.
I was gonna say, I'll let Mr. Spencer ask that.
In 2017, we went away from what we've normally done, which is when you surface treat a road, we add 6 inches of gravel, regrade the road, widen the road, get it up to spec, and then cover it. In 2017, we had several roads and more kilometers that simply, the roads were well-built, ones we've done in the last 7 or 8 years, and then we recovered them. So basically, the prep work was patching potholes, doing fine tuning, and then simply recovering it. So there was no granular spreading, which is a huge labor component as well as cost, so we didn't have to do that on those roads. This year, we're going back to likely having to do a full production, and we're,
Is it because it's a different road?
the roads, and yes, and the roads got some heaving, and you know what I mean, you've got some.
No, I realize when you put the second lift, you extend your life by at least 50%. If you can get it before it falls apart, you just put a lift over it.
Okay, just to put this in perspective, in 2014, we spent 199,000, 15, 232, 16, 184, last year 120, and we're proposing to go back up from 114 to 176. So we'll still be less than what we've been running there.
You
So
have to go by whatever road you're doing.
yeah. Okay,
Which
highways.
road is this?
Jacqueline Road, likely from the tracks heading towards the, heading eastbound, I guess. That
Oh,
would be.
yeah. A million potholes there.
It's coming apart, and yeah, and like I say, some extensive construction.
Okay. Page 155, Highway 6. We have a transfer to reserve in that area, but we're pulling a whole bunch out of reserves there, so we're just helping to pay for that.
Okay. Can I just ask Cynthia, these grants, is the timeline that they have to announce the awarding of the grants, is that affected by this year being an election year? In other words, I guess, is it gonna happen sooner rather than later, or does it matter?
I couldn't begin to.
Okay, I was just curious.
You're running for a seat on my
Okay, page 156, there's nothing there. Page 157, we got the Queensway shave and pave. And our expenses are for the outside contractors for that.
We're doing the Queensway if we don't get the other ones. Or something.
Yeah, that was my intention, so you can see in the budget, I've only put $100,000, like in the summary budget for this, even though this work would cost $476,000.
Okay.
So if we're not successful with the connecting links, then it might make sense to move forward with the Queensway shade and pave, but I don't think that we could squeeze it in the budget to do both this year.
Okay. Could we look at both those things and see through the use of reserves, what the actual impact on the taxpayer of each, I guess we have that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
everything's.
Yep.
Yeah,
Right here.
never mind, we do have that, okay. So that sort of finishes off that area, and let's see if I've got anything here that transportation, nothing there. Okay. So the next item on our agenda is, if I can find it, environmental. Thank you very much, Dave.
He's not leaving.
You see, he's
Yeah,
environmental
yeah,
too.
sorry, yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
He's in the-
He's in
I think you have me until about noon.
Yeah, okay. Let's find environmental, and that page starts,
92.
92.
here we go, 92. And the first item is the garbage collection and disposal.
That's just the collecting of our garbage cans throughout the municipality.
looking at a small change in the budget there, going down a little bit. And I can tell you back in 2016, we spent $21,500 on there, so that number looks pretty reasonable. Garbage collection, next item. And that's tied into the contract, and there's not much to say there. We got the landfill disposal contract, and compared to 2016, we're spending less money, so we can't complain there.
I have a question there. I thought we had done a reduction on the disposal contract.
We did, if you look at 2016, we spent
Oh.
almost 309,000.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it was going back further. Okay.
Yeah,
And I was just looking going back from last year to next year.
yeah, it's gone down.
Considerable.
Cleanup week, we're looking at a slight increase, but it's a little less than we actually spent last year, so.
That's really the maintenance of the yard waste depot.
Yeah.
There's no cleanup week, I guess, anymore.
Yeah. Okay, hazardous household waste, and that's going up just slightly, and that's probably because of the outside contractors have gone up. Recycling program, revenue is gone up a little wee bit. Outside contractors have gone up slightly. Overall, there's not much of a change. The net change is really almost zero. Page 98, there's nothing there, and that sort of takes care of.
No, sorry, just a point on the recycling program. So I can, use our revenues, and I can increase that a little bit, so probably to 33,000, I'm thinking.
I'm sorry, how much?
Increase it to 33,000.
Okay, good. Well, that's good.
27.5. I did show it was an increase there, but it'd be safe to increase it a bit more.
So that's page 97, increased revenue. $5,500. Okay, good. I guess we're into recreation. And that's pages 108 to 131 and 159. Leisure services. Facility maintenance there, there's not much there. I noticed when it came to amortization there, Cynthia, sometimes we had often we had zeros for 2017, is
That's a
that?
good look at.
Okay.
It's a year-end entry.
Yeah, I sort of figured that, I just want to confirm that. Outdoor rink, looking good. Tennis courts. I have a little question on the regular wages, but I guess that doesn't change much.
Yeah, I have a few. What is that at the tennis court? No, what are the wages? What are they?
Well, we have to do inspections, sometimes we have to do repairs to the surface, and that just varies from year to year. 2017, I don't think we had really any repairs to do.
But you never know.
Next year it could be there. And I know we're looking at installing a bench at the tennis court, which was being donated.
I just wondered what we did.
Okay, next item is the ballparks. I'm gonna suggest we, I don't know what we do with the rentals of the park. Have we been increasing the fees each year?
Yeah, our schedule of fees is indexed every year with the cost of living.
Okay, so just that it doesn't show up as increased fees because the usage goes down a little bit each year too, probably.
Well, we have increased, we show an increase from 14,100 to 15,000 in revenues.
I think we were told by the study on whatever that we didn't increase enough on some of our recreational facilities.
Well, that's something that we're reviewing under the rec master plan. So that's,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
so, I mean, we started having regular meetings and then we'll be bringing stuff forward to council to approve and review and fees is up on one of the.
Okay, good, that's
things
good.
We really want to start looking at.
Yeah, okay, that's great.
Well, and I just have a question, Bill, that why I know possible, wages from actual in 2017 to actual,
Yeah, I had that too.
it's $10,000 increase, and of course that adds the payroll burden and infringement went up 6,000, probably because of that, or whatever, I don't know, maybe we're allocating codes there too, or, I don't know.
Yeah, looks like payroll burden and print just being allocated there. We're also looking at doing some work to the old Lions. Not the pavilion, right behind the dugout, there's an old booth.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna need some maintenance we're looking at actually taking that top roof off and then,
So it's going under the operating, not under a capital then, because it just kind of repairs?
well, it's not a we don't view it as a capital, we view it as a maintenance item, because sometimes it's the threshold that you're spending.
Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay, I noticed a big increase in overall payroll costs there. I was just wondering what the impact, what that was.
The dugout that we're looking at doing some repairs with.
Okay.
We're looking at doing something on that ourselves.
Outside contractors, the materials and supplies have gone up a little bit, but the budget's gone down. So that's one area where we're going to get an increase because we're actually doing some extra work out there. Okay. Track and field, parks, we got parks rental revenue. Not much has changed there. We're seeing an increase in benefits there. It matches what we had, and actually, what our budget is higher than what we spent in each of the last 4 years. So,
I think we're reflecting the
Payroll.
student increase and the payroll burden again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we haven't, previous years, we haven't budgeted payroll burden in that area.
yeah. Okay. Playgrounds, we're looking at a slight budget decrease. Clear Lake Beach. We're looking at a little increase.
That's where some of our, we got some grant funding to increase the Seacoast Fitness Trail. Some of our municipalities' contribution is in kind work, so it'll be work performed by the department.
So you have a little bit more to do there.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Community parks. We're looking at a slight increase here, but it looks like it's just starting to pick up payroll and burden.
Correct.
Rex program administration, and we're seeing a significant drop, and that's the impact of you splitting your duties.
Correct.
Any questions there? The marketing coordinator, just a slight increase. And it's just payroll and burden. We got a little bit for training, travel, and conference. Next item, especially courses, splash program, ACES. Then we've got administrative staff, front desk. And give you perspective, the last 4 years we're at 99,000, 93,000, 97,000, 90,000, and we're looking for $107,000 this year. And a slight increase in the budget.
Yeah, I was wondering, like the regular wages, is that just the desk when you go into the regular,
Correct.
those people?
Yes. And the bookings, correct.
Okay.
We're not always at full complement of staff. We have a high turnover.
Mhm.
So the budget's reflecting what we'd like to have, but a lot of times we're short-staffed and we have staff covering from out of the back office covering the front desk.
I wouldn't mind taking several $1,000s out of that budget.
So council would be recommending shortening the front desk staff allocation.
If you can get by, if you've been getting by with $90,000 last year, I guess the question is, and we typically use some?
We don't get by.
Because we're pulling staff from behind, so we have Denise and Cheryl coming out of the back offices to cover front desk. So they're not working on their other jobs like marketing or economic development, they're covering front desk. And we're also, so sometimes we're closing early because we don't have staff to cover. So we can't police or monitor who's coming into the building and using fitness cards and verify whether they have memberships or not, which we believe is happening already. Because our fitness facility is open till 10 o'clock, so staff is not there till 8 o'clock, but sometimes we're closed at 5 because we can't get the staff.
Bill?
So if you're reducing wages there, then to me, you're reducing hours coverage.
Yeah, okay.
So last year, that the full-time front desk position was vacant from January to probably August, right? So now we've hired for that position. So that's really why it looks like it's so much under budget.
Okay. We can always come back to this. No, at the end there or later on there and see how, once we sit and when we've gone through the whole package.
You
Okay?
can leave yourself a note there.
Yeah. Okay. Office operations, we're looking at a slight reduction. We spent quite a bit less than the budget last year. Back in 2016, we spent $16,000. Last year, $15,000. And it looks like it's all in labor, and it may be allocation, I'm not sure.
Now, this year, stationery,
Labor.
furniture and equipment, and software support, which I'm assuming is gonna help us. Maybe, and furniture and equipment, I know you don't buy much for $200, but maybe they have something in mind that you need, is that what they did?
For office equipment or furniture and equipment?
Furniture and equipment and stationery.
Just, and that varies quite a bit. The furniture and equipment runs from $3,300 to to 2,800, to 4,300 on the various years there, so it looks like it's around $4,000.
And
Yeah, some of that's your computers and stuff.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
we're proposing 50% higher than that.
No, we're proposing,
6,000, and you've been averaging 4
proposing 4,500, and we've been averaging about 4.
for stationary?
No,
No,
he's
for furniture and
Oh, yeah,
equipment.
yeah. No, I said stationary.
Stationary, yeah, that may be, and I haven't got 4-year history on that. That's a fairly hefty increase. Well, it's no change in the budget.
No, not there. Change over actual.
In 2015, in stationery, we had 57.
Oh, so
6,700?
57.
57, okay. Well, let's just leave it then. And we are reducing the budget by about 5%.
So it's good.
Facility maintenance. Any questions there?
Do we have anything big planned in terms of maintenance this year over at the complex, Joel?
With the complex, well, in the pool area, we're looking at regrouting the deck. We'd like to start doing some painting on in the arena, because it's starting to peel and rust is starting to show, so we'd like to start tapping some of that. And there's the remaining of the air balancing of the HVACs, the automation system, so that we can control it better.
Okay.
the pool deck, do we do that or do we have an outside contractor?
It's an outside contract.
Because I'm looking at outside contractors, not a big difference there, but I'm looking at the total difference from actual last year. I don't know what they were billing, you might have the previous years, from last year to this.
Well,
Hydro's not up to date, that's the first thing we gotta remember here.
yeah, hydro, and the other thing is there's amortization that hasn't actually been entered of $261,000.
Yeah.
That we're doing now.
You know, to go back 4 years, we're at 888, 832, 822, and add 261, we're at about
Yeah.
almost 900,000. But we are looking for a fair increase in the budget here, though, of around $32,000. Hydro is one aspect of it. Outside contractors have gone up a little bit. General maintenance looks reasonable, and the rest must be in the labor.
Yeah, at the top there.
And splitting the benefits out there a little bit better, because in 2017, we had broken out vacation pay and in lieu of benefits there, and that must be part of that.
Not a big change in benefits and burden.
Yeah. So anyway,
Are you
I don't see any
dropping
problems
it, or are
here.
you looking at leaving it, Bill?
pardon?
Are you looking at, you were saying there's 32,000.
Yeah.
Dropping it a bit,
Yeah.
or are you looking at leaving it? Or just
I
put it
don't know, I
aside
guess,
and we'll look at it after?
Yeah, let's bring that forward, okay? Page 123. 3 facility maintenance. We took a big hit last year when we had those, or maybe it didn't show up there.
No, it's in the pool itself.
Yeah, it's in the pool. Okay. Union negotiations, there's nothing there. Complex, and you got revenue there. What was that miscellaneous revenue of $36,000? an actual revenue for the,
I
was
think
that a
that-
grant?
No, I think that's the insurance proceeds, maybe for the
Oh.
fuel pumps.
Oh, okay,
So we did get it.
okay, that's good.
I would have to check. I'm
Yeah.
not sure why it's not in the fuel area, but
Okay. Anyway, we're not proposing any real change there. In the pools there, okay, in the pool, the general operating fund, I propose we look again at the fees there.
Yes.
I think you mentioned we're gonna come out forward
Yeah,
with
we'll
something.
come forward with everything, but the fees vary from 113,000 to 143,000. And we're proposing a small increase, and it's just slightly above last year's actual revenue. There was a big, when we look at the actual spending on the pool, we had a $75,000 hit. And that was a general equipment maintenance, an extra $45,000, and that's probably related to the failure and the flood and,
Correct. And I'm agreeing with Cynthia that on the previous page, that miscellaneous revenue of 36,000 is
okay,
very
that's
offsetting those.
So it's
So
just a miscoding then,
yeah, it should be offset the pool
Yeah.
area. but
and which changes the whole
The
picture.
insurance proceeds were 34,740.
So the overall hit was maybe $12,000 or $13,000 there. Okay. I think we just let that sit.
I'll take that into account.
That's all right with everybody. Fitness, that's another one, we can look at the fees. I looked at the spending in 2016, it was $19,000. Last year, we were a little low, our budget's 19 and a half, and we're proposing $19,890. And you got furniture and equipment in there, and you got general maintenance, and that's a little hard to predict exactly where those are gonna be. Squash, fees again, and there's not much for supplies. The arena, I'm assuming those rentals go up every year anyway, we increase the fee for that. We're looking at a slight increase in the budget, but it's below what we spent, and we spent in this area here, 53,000, 72,000, 72,000, 75,000, and we're forecasting about $67,000 in spending there, so it looks like, and it looks like our maintenance, general maintenance is gonna go down. Is going up slightly, but that's in the materials and supplies. Do we know what that would involve? Materials and supplies?
Off the top of my head, I don't have an answer for it,
Okay,
but
Maybe.
I will get back.
could be pneumonia or something like that.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody? Facility rentals?
I did have a question there. The bar budget is decreased it just in 2018 for some, it looks odd. It's decreased in 2018, yet we're back up in 19 and 20. Just maybe keystroke mistake.
Sorry, I'm looking at 2018 at 15, and then 2019, 13, and 14.
Uh,
You're looking at the rent, I think.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
yes.
sorry.
Sorry, so the renting, I'm sorry.
So, let's go back to the question. What is it?
Well, no, actually, it is the bar revenue.
Yeah,
It is the bar revenue. For some reason, it drops in 2018. Your forecast revenue is dropping in 18, and it comes back up in 19 and 20. And I just wondered if it was an
I think
entry
that-
error.
I think when I was looking at the bar revenue at the time, we weren't attaining the goals that we were, like this was back in November, and then we had a couple rentals in I believe in December, which really increased our bar revenue for 2017 actuals. But just want to go.
So you're on page 130.
Page 130, yeah.
So when we set the budget, it was like October, November. In December, our bar revenue was $10,000 for the month. So we didn't expect that at all. Part of that could have been, this is the first year we had our Christmas party there, and we also had a significant rental.
Yeah, we had two of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So would it be practical, because I noticed, like Bob was saying,
Well, 2015.
proposal altogether years are around 10.
I get what he's
If I may
saying.
jump in, Councillor, bar revenue in 2015 was 7,000. 2016 was 8,600. So when we're in October of 2017 and we were looking at the actuals, then I'm thinking, well, 15,000 is
Reasonable to expect.
no, because we were at 2016 we were at 8,600. The year before we were at just under 7,000. So I was adjusting to 10,000 to be more
Sure.
in line
Yeah,
with what
sure.
the actuals are, so that we're not grossly overinflating our revenues.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would be unwise to try and inflate, now that we know the story, it would be unwise to try and inflate the revenues based on 1 year.
Yeah, could I give you a little bit of history on that, okay? The total revenue for the facility rentals in 2014 was 48,200. Then it dropped to 27,000, 26,700. Last year we were at 33,000, and we're forecasting 25,000. I think 25,000 is a little low, but maybe we should leave it at last year's budget of 30,000 and see where that sits. Is that a consensus on?
Yeah, we can do that.
Is that reasonable? Okay, Cynthia?
I think so.
Well, we can try it. We can't control rentals.
No.
We know
That's
that,
right.
we know that, but that's still less than what we took in last year, and it's about, if you take the 3-year average, that would put it pretty close to the 3-year average.
Good try.
So we look at 4,700 increase. Vehicles and equipment, that looks reasonable. And it goes down from year to year. It varies anywhere from 5,400 to 12,755. Clear Lake Fitness Park, and that's a residual carryover of the work that needs to be done, and
That's the grant.
yeah. You got a grant of 26,000, then you got outside contractors of $30,880.
That's some of the, but sometimes outside contractors is the equipment as well.
Okay.
But we're also looking at paving that section. Well, the extension, so that when you're leaving the Secord Fitness Trail, you're walking across in behind and right to the accessible washrooms.
So that would be paving the extension.
A portion of it, yes.
Now, is that something we, okay, sorry.
I just wanted to say we were notified that we got this grant.
Okay,
So this was, we had applied for it under the accessibility program, so we got that grant. And I think part of our costs are reflected here, and then part of it was under the regular Clear Lake maintenance. I think our share was 20%. So it was about $90,000.
so that just, it's $4,700 that is out of our pocket.
Okay.
Okay. Next item is cultural activities. almost done then? Or are you still up there for that?
Well, outside the library portion,
Okay,
and
okay.
as far as like Santa Claus parade or carnival.
Sure, okay.
I will remain.
Okay.
Well, parade's good. It is what it is.
Okay, so on page 136, there's nothing much there. The Winter Carnival, I see all of a sudden we got $2,000 in regular wages showing up in there. Is that because we're trying to transfer, we had the reduction in the other area, so we're trying to transfer that to where it's actually
Yeah.
being used?
So that council can see what the municipal effort is in
Sure.
supporting this event.
Just better coding.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. July 1st celebration, the same sort of thing applies, okay, the coding on the wages. Pumpkin Festival. Should we be looking at, oh, okay, we're not expecting a provincial grant for that this year then, eh? On the Pumpkin Festival?
So this is all community events. Pumpkin
Yeah.
Festival is just one of them.
Sure.
Yeah, so there's other cultural activities as well. And the Wall of Fame celebration that we already have, that falls under this area as well. Joel, anything else?
And we're looking to
You're
spend,
doing great.
okay, we'll leave that one alone then.
Actually, I have a question. Under this cultural activities, so last year we had increased it a little bit under outside contractors to reflect the Carver Kings at the Pumpkin Festival. This year we're not having the Carver Kings return. As well, Joel pointed out to me that this is our 60th year of being incorporated, and we had a big celebration when it was 50th. And, you know, it'd be a great opportunity for council to provide some guidance if they wanted to do anything special for either of those events.
Okay.
That's
Okay,
why
so we should
kinda
leave
left
that,
the budget,
yeah, you can,
you know,
okay.
in case. council
Okay, good.
wanted to do
Just a
something.
question about the Carver Kings, they're not coming back, is there a specific reason?
We hadn't, we just thought that maybe we've had them here 2 years now, and after they left our complex last year, they spent almost a week at Home Hardware. So we were just feeling that maybe, you know, the market's getting tapped out a little bit, and maybe it's time to change it up. But we haven't really got any big ideas for this coming year yet.
I know it was well received in the community, but you're
Yeah.
right, I think it was closer to 2 weeks at Home Hardware. And it kept, and a lot of people dropped by and made purchases and did all the rest down there.
Okay,
Probably okay.
beautification. That's an area that over the last 4 years is running at 31,000, 33,000, 39,000. Last year we spent 56,000. Our budget's 31,450, and we're looking for 47,000 this year. And there's a big change in materials and supplies.
Okay, well, some of the changes here is payroll, burden and fringe benefits being allocated in that area previously.
Yeah.
And the big change too here is we had budgeted some new banners for the Highway 6. A lot of our winter banners they're tearing and so this is where we would, it was, when we bought banners originally, it was under the beautification project, so this is where we allocated it.
Okay, so that's why the increase there. And we're picking up some of the regular wages and stuff that are really more payroll allocation. Okay. Heritage Park.
Tell me about this.
What's wrong with the Heritage Park? That we couldn't delay it for a year or not even do it?
No, I don't.
So,
I think, Dave, didn't you see something in the park? I hadn't witnessed it yet, but I think the wall.
It looks great, but structurally, it's starting to fail from my perspective, my opinion. We've done some repairs there. Some of the stonework has fallen off on a couple of the pillars. And in repairing that stonework, you know what I mean? You rub your shoulder against the thing and you're pushing it, and the wall moves. So it should be structurally inspected, I think, at minimum. I certainly don't know how much work is required there. That's not my field, but I do believe there's some structural wear there that it needs to be inspected.
I
That was a
think,
rough estimate that we put in there because we couldn't get anybody to come and quote on it. It's the time of year and so on.
this is a big item there, okay, and, I'm just offering my opinion, okay, and that is that, that park probably isn't not viewed by very many people. Maybe it's my guess, but it's just a location, there's no good parking there, and if we were to have to spend big dollars there, I don't know if we would want to spend it in that location or relocate it to another area of the town. Would it be possible to say, look, we're not gonna spend $50,000, but we're gonna spend a little bit of money to secure it from a safety standpoint, and then assess what we should do over the long haul?
I agree.
we suspect that the walls will have to come down.
Sorry?
We suspect that the walls will have to come down, from a safety standpoint, if they're not repaired. But that's what we suspect. That's why
I mean, how many years old is it now?
it's not that many years old.
No, and if we're looking at that
It
kind of
wasn't.
work, maybe we have a problem.
I mean, we didn't necessarily contract that, like the town didn't contract that. Not that that makes it right or wrong, but,
No, I realize that. but-
so, yeah. But we'll have to get it somehow inspected. I think there is a bit of risk there for the town, so.
What-
I wonder if it's, obviously, we have to do an inspection. I mean, yeah, I get it. Safety-wise, if the wall's moving, something's going on. Is it possible that the people doing does this count as one of the structures that our grant is covering for
No.
Pits. Would have been nice to see those guys walk through the snow and take a look.
Well, the other thing there is if we were to relocate it to another area, which would be more visible and likely be viewed by more people, would we be able to get a grant if we were to create a heritage park in another part of the community?
I'm like you, Bill, I think we need to leave a few dollars to do some inspection, maybe some remedial work. But in the long term, if it's that bad that the walls aren't, and it's not very old, do we want to put that kind of money into it or relocate it?
I think that would be for community service, community.
Yeah.
turn
And the first thing is
work
you're gonna have to inspect it anyway.
Yeah.
What if we reduce that to a small amount, to leave some money for an inspection and possibly some remedial work in the short term until we come up with a decision?
How about we say $10,000 for at least an inspection, and we don't know exactly what we require to make it safe, but we could always block it off if it worst came to worst. And then, is that a reasonable consensus among us?
Yeah. Do that.
Reduced by 40,000? That's a big item there, so
Yeah.
it would have a fair.
Bill?
Yeah,
Sorry, I
sorry.
just have a concern about, for $10,000, I mean, we might get an inspection, but that doesn't leave anything probably
Okay.
to look at repairing it, so.
Okay.
And then, I had sent out, we got notified that we had got funding for another downtown improvement thing, grant, and I don't know, I still haven't gotten any information on that grant, so, I mean, it's a possibility that might, maybe it would cover that, I don't know, but,
So how much more do you think we should leave in there?
I have no idea, but I mean, engineers are expensive, and
Yeah.
for 10,000, I don't think that, you know, we would get very far into any repairing of that.
Even like, just to even, you know, secure it the way, I think we need at least half of that. I'm concerned
Plenty of
that
room,
I
that's the
don't,
number, I think.
that we
Okay.
don't know, it's a big unknown.
Just
Okay.
the evaluation, if I might jump in,
Yeah.
it's probably just gonna be $5,000 to $6,000 alone.
Yeah.
But that's not saying what recommended to repair it. They'll say, well, you will need to do a design or something, and then we'll be over the 10,000 part.
But we may elect not to repair it, okay? We may elect to turn around and secure it from a safety standpoint and then relocate it. We've got some plaques on the walls and stuff. We could, if we had to take the walls down, we could, anyway, it's,
The relocation of that is probably that much money.
yeah.
We did look at that a
Yeah.
couple,
But I'm saying-
years back.
But we may not relocate it this year. We could
Yeah.
do that next year. And it's a combination of,
I think we would be wise to leave the 25,000 in,
okay,
simply because, as the old says, we're looking at 5 or 6. It almost sounds like, I mean, I know Dave's a pretty big dude when he leans on a wall, but it's not a good thing.
yeah,
And we
okay,
can, even renting fence to put around it, if it can stand up, is gonna cost a lot of money.
yeah. Okay, so we'll reduce it by 25,000?
I can agree with that.
Joel, the handwriting on that is questionable too, eh?
Sorry, that,
The handwriting?
is it on the stairs going down?
Yeah. And
I
on the wall, eh?
haven't actually reviewed
Okay.
the site myself. It's just, I know it was identified.
I was made aware that it was loose anyway.
Okay. We're into, next is economic development. And I'm not sure what page that starts at.
141.
141, okay, there we are, planning and zoning. Go ahead, Cheryl.
So I have my first page as 142.
Okay.
All right. So,
We don't have a lot of changes for economic development this year. I just wanted to bring a few things to your attention. You may have noticed under the signage program, directional signage, that would be on page 143. We reduced the budget by $650. And just in case you were wondering, that was because we had to remove the bank of directional signage when we sold our property on Untitled. So that accounted for that loss in revenue there. And again, we are recommending to continue with the community improvement program. We had an uptake last year of 6 approved applicants. And so far this year, we have 1 approved applicant that we had approved in December. So that's, which will actualize this spring. And we have received another applicant. So it's a great program. It's really well received by the business community, and we've assisted 6 businesses last year.
No, yeah, the grant that we recently received, wouldn't that be used for community improvement, shouldn't it?
We don't know.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know anything about the.
But that could very well offset some of those expenses then.
I'm not sure. Normally, the grants wouldn't cover something that's already in place. It would have to be in addition to something that you're already doing, but.
Okay. Go ahead there, Cheryl.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So it's a great program and looking to continue that. On page 145, that used to be headed the revitalization plan. That's actually our cycling commuter plan, money that we got as part of the grant. And we'll be putting that request for proposals out later this week.
I noticed there, Cynthia, that there's no minus in front of the $20,000, so it shows
Oh,
up.
yeah, I have to fix that.
Yeah, so it's really a $5,000
Yes.
impact and not a $45,000.
That's right. Yep. Not many changes here on page 146. A slight increase we're recommending for the advertising and promotion of $6,000. There's such a thing as called banner blindness. And so when, in the advertising world, when people see the same banner or billboard, you know, for 4 years, as we haven't changed any of ours out in 4 years, that people just stop looking. So we have been recommending the $6,000 increase to review signage, billboards, and municipal promotion.
Okay,
That's reasonable.
I'd like to make a note, Bill, that we look back at that later when we're looking at the end.
sure. Okay, page 146. And that'd be the advertising and promotion. Okay. Communications,
Where you see other consulting, outside contractors, that encapsulates our 311 service. And we do some of our Facebook through outside contracting, and website and the LED sign is all under there.
okay. So we're looking at a reduction overall there, which is good. And I guess that covers this end, or
And that would be it.
yeah, okay. Any more questions or suggestions? Okay, that's done. I think we should take a little break at this point.
Thank you.
I would suggest just turn the microphone off
Yeah.
and let me.
Okay, so treasury, this department area is really where we capture most of our funding and our taxation revenue falls out of treasury. So this is where we've seen a decrease under our OMPF grant as well. And other than that, there's really not really anything significant under treasury. Sure.
I know we get a grant in lieu of,
Yeah, they still pay taxes, but it's considered a payment in lieu. It doesn't.
but like we budgeted last year, yes, 14.5.
Yeah.
And we got $12 and $50. It never goes up.
No, so it's based on their assessment value, right? It's just like everyone's, and the assessment value has been going down,
Down? Oh,
so.
I wondered. Thank you.
I have a little question in the, on page 3, okay, the general tax and WOs, what's?
Write-offs?
Write-offs, I sort of figured
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
I noticed that we actually had $227 last year with a budget of $40,000.
so actually, that's not correct.
Okay.
No, still
So
doesn't.
what was happening all during the year was all of our write-offs, when people make a request for reconsideration or get a write-off through the ARB process or whatever, for some reason this year, it all got coded to the individual revenue sections, so we have to review all that and
Okay.
allocate it back.
Okay.
Because it's actually, I know it was quite a bit higher than that, so,
Okay.
I had one about the tax consultants.
yeah.
I noticed you had, we had 5,000 last year, and then you're dropping down in 19 and 20 to 25. Wow. I know you don't get much of a consultant for $2,500.
Yeah, so this is a tax consulting firm, MTE, that we use for property appeals. I try to do a lot myself, but I definitely need their expertise in some areas. And so the reason we have some active outstanding right now, and there's a new timeline process for the ARB and so on. So I was actually expecting, more to happen in 2017 than it did, but they've been scheduled for 2018. So I think,
Yeah,
and then once hopefully those will get resolved, and then it should go down after that because it's a 4-year cycle.
Okay. I think that's all we really need on the treasury, unless you have some more to offer.
I just had a question. Municipal owned purchases, and it was 4.9 million, and when 4.8 were dropped. What is that exactly?
So those are all, what page are you on? Sorry.
4.
Yeah, so wherever you see municipal owned purposes, that's taxation revenue for, this is the residential code. And actually, like, that's one of the ones we should be right on with that one. And
That's because of the reassessment dropping?
so for this one, it is higher than budget. So that is most likely because there were some supplementary taxation revenues that should get coded later on. That was what I was saying about the coding this year.
Mhm.
So we have to review all those tax codes and get them in the right codes.
Okay. Nobody else is. We go on to the amendment. Page
Oh,
is 29, yeah.
Page 20, yeah, the rest is just tax allocations.
So under administration, I don't think there's much change from last year, a slight increase in use. And then no change for council. Office operations, we increased.
I'm going to suggest from the council that we reduce the travel, training, and conference. We haven't been spending that, and my guess is we're not going to spend the budget this year unless everybody's going to travel this year.
I have a suggestion there too, and I know I mentioned it before and everybody said no, leave it as a total. But I would like to see it, and I mentioned that, where it's divided up, and I don't think it has to happen in the budget, but someplace, where it's divided amongst everybody. You got whatever, you take that 12,000 or whatever we make it, divided by the 7 of us, and that's what you do. And that doesn't mean people can't travel. It just means you have that much that you can choose which you want to go to, and if it's something important, you put a request into council, and if it's important, I can't see anybody turning it down.
The one thing about the training I might want to mention is this is an election year and there'll be a lot of extra training afterwards. And I can remember it was fairly expensive back when we took office with the people we brought in. So we want to be careful what we cut there.
You're probably right there. It didn't occur to me, but last time around we did a lot of the training. Not much happened until January, but I think this time around there was some discussion that council starts earlier. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, Monday.
Council
Yes,
doesn't
sir.
start earlier
No.
in this election, it'll be the next term. However, we are working on a, more effective orientation plan. So we do plan to kick it off in December, but I don't know how much.
Should that not be placed on election costs?
No, the election, council orientation would come out of this, yeah.
But I'll say like you, I think most of that's gonna fall in January or later of the following year, so there's no
Not if it's
reason.
accelerated though, you have to be careful. 6 one, half dozen the other.
Okay, I'm just gonna, I'll leave my suggestion alone there and,
That's good.
okay, general operating, okay, go ahead.
Okay, so, under office operations, the increase there was we increased legal from 2,500 to 10,000. That's pretty much the significant increase in that area. Public relations, there was no increase. Elections, because it's an election year, but we also have reserve to pull from to even out the impact on the tax levy for that. Cultural activities, that's our, what we write off for the Legion for their taxes. So there's no change there. And then for strategic planning, this is to finish up with the police costing. We had allowed $25,000 last year, and we only spent about $3,300. So again, for this year, to hold the public information sessions, we're going to have someone review the calculations, and we're going to pay for a facilitator to come in as well, and that's all funded from reserves, because we had budgeted that $25,000 last year. The next area is administration staff. The increase there really just reflects the cost of living. No significant increases under office operations.
There's just under administration staff, from the actual to the, what was the council recommendation last year and this year, there's, oh no, I get, at the one year, all the way through, there's a significant change though.
What page is that, sorry?
36.
Oh, okay.
It looks like a 1.5% increase.
You're talking about council recommendation, I'm looking at actual.
You're talking about an actual of 766 versus
802.
802.
And how do you care?
That's a different one.
Well, the 810 is, that increase there is just reflecting the cost of living. I see what he's asking here.
Yeah, so the increase from 17 to 18, excuse me, is about $8,000. And that was just
No, I understand that.
increase.
I'm looking at the jump from actual to
Not the actual.
what was in the budget.
Just trying to pull up the history on that if I can.
You're talking about the regular wages, the 588, or where are you?
Oh, you're on the wrong page.
36. That's probably.
Page 36, I guess, eh?
I know you're looking at the bottom, right? Over here.
Here, no, that all reflects right down.
That's right, but this is where it shows it.
That's a new one.
Yeah.
Just to give you a history, we were in 2014, we were at 791. 2015, 742. 2016, 750. 2017, 766. And we're forecasting a budget of 810, a little increase.
So you're looking at 766, is that?
Yeah.
Okay, because on my sheet, I have printed February 15th. I have 786.
786?
Yes.
For which one then? It's the 2018?
217 actual.
Yeah, so 766, that didn't reflect the year-end accrual yet. So I have the year-end accrual reflected, and we're up to 786 for that in total. And then for association memberships, we were slightly under $1,000 almost. Travel training, we were under $1,700. Payroll burden and benefits, we were under $4,000. So.
I have a question for the burden again, and then the fringe benefits. I mean, burdens normally would I think encompass the sick time, bereavement, vacation. That's the way I looked at it. No, I understand that, Ron, I understand. What I'm asking is, what's under the burden?
So payroll burden and fringe benefits, that's your CPP, 4.95%, EI, which is 2.6 or 2.8%, WSIB, EHT, your health benefits, health and dental, vision, short-term, long-term disability, OMERS, pension costs would be under there.
Okay, I'm getting it.
That's most of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Employer health tax,
Yeah.
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 1.95%. Probably go up.
Okay, we'll go on.
So office operations, and we're down a little bit there. Nothing really significant, just reflecting our actual costs.
I have a quick question. What are special services?
So that was the allowance that I had put in there for the asset management planning.
Mm-hmm.
And then since that didn't happen this year, it's gonna get charged out in 2018.
Could we take the surplus because we raised taxes for last year?
We have, yeah, transfer from reserve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I did.
Those
Sorry.
also-
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cynthia, on the software support again,
Yeah.
I see there's 31,000 that we actually spent this year, and then a little further on, we're looking at 30,000. That's pretty consistent over the years. Is there new programs we get, or I know the license and everything wouldn't cost how much?
Yeah, so we have our renewal, annual renewals for all our software packages go through there, and then that includes the support time to have, we don't have an IT person here
Okay,
on site, so we have someone come once a week, they're here actually every 2 weeks, or half a day. So that time gets.
And we also, back in 2015, we implemented a new, maybe it was 2014, the town implemented all new software.
That was in 13, yeah.
13, okay. But you had growing pains and you're trying to add functionality as well?
And all those programs have an annual fee attached to them, so.
Okay.
And this year, we had to spend a lot. There were upgrades that they didn't tell us about in advance, so we hadn't really planned for them. And then they said, well, we're no longer supporting your version, and you have to upgrade. So that's why we were a little over in 2017.
Okay.
wow.
There are some maintenance items scheduled that I'll let Paula review, and in order to fund those, we're pulling out everything basically that we've put into the reserve for this building. Everything we've recorded under amortization expense, we put into the reserve, and we're pulling all that back out to offset those costs. So, Paula, if you want to just go through the list of what we plan for this year for maintenance.
The general building maintenance, there's actually only one project. We had originally there was a couple that we wanted to address, but with the cost, so the flat roof and pitch roof here in this building needs to be repaired, the flat roof particularly. So we're looking at 140, just shy of $140,000 for that.
That roof must be what, how many years old there now?
It's over 30 for sure.
Okay, so it's so you can wait till it fails
We
and
looked,
spend
well, we
more,
did
or-
look at doing it separately, doing
Yeah.
the flat roof and then doing the pitch roof maybe next year. But by separating the projects like that, the costs are gonna be huge to do it that way.
When was the last time it was done?
The flat roof is 30 years.
30 years?
At least 30 years, yeah.
Okay.
And then we have our pest control, pro gas contract, which is under, it's about $13.56, I think, for that. So those are really the only other costs associated with that general building maintenance. Actually, pest control, sorry, is under health services.
Okay, so the big item in the maintenance is the roof.
I guess we see that being, the finally have it being done, tuning up this building, I guess we can see it being reflected in 2019 and going forward.
Correct, yeah. Into 2019 and 2020, we're just looking at some exterior lighting and repairs that need to be done, floors and painting, and just general maintenance
Yeah,
beyond
I mean,
that.
obviously the projection reflects that the building is finally back up
Yeah.
to a standard. Okay, thank you.
So right now, the roof, we don't know of any imminent problem with the roof, but we gamble if we were to try to delay that year.
It's starting to bubble. We've already had a few areas patched, I think 3 years ago
Okay.
by Brent Borjo, but it's a chance.
Yeah, it's a gamble if you were to try to do something like that.
We had, actually last year we had budgeted for this year, the HVAC units,
Yeah.
right? And we actually had, all of them went in 2017.
Yeah.
So we're fortunate that the project that we had, that we did last year, came in a little bit under budget because we had no choice. We had
Sure.
to address those.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Satisfactory.
So that's all for administration. If you wanted just to jump over to health and social, might as well cover those. POA. So these ones are pretty straightforward.
Is that health services? Just tell me the page. 99. Okay.
Yeah, 99.
That's what I got, okay.
Yeah, so the first item there is our apportionment to the Sudbury District Health Unit. Then we have the $20,000 donation to doctor recruitment. Then we have our apportionment from DSAF for planned ambulance, as well as the general assistance and child care that fall under social services. So overall, DSAF has gone out up about $50,000, which was a bit of a disappointment. And I think it's how they're including the assessment on our power jam, and I have talked to them about that. And they've told me there's nothing that they can do. So I do plan on writing the ministry a letter and asking them to review that.
Because they weren't including the assessments before, or?
Oh, no, yeah, they always have been.
Yeah,
But there's been a bit of a difference because a few years ago, they've always included it with the assessment with our large industrial tax base. So after our assessment dropped and we were allowed to increase the ratio, they were increasing the ratio on the power dam as well. So they were taking even more of our power dam grant. So I said I didn't think that was fair, so they went back to how they were treating it back in 2000 or 2001. So that's how they're including our power dam grant, but in the meantime, the province has uploaded a lot of those costs. They were 3.5 million at that time, and now they're only 1 million. So the province has uploaded 2.5 million, but they're still taking the same percentage as our power dam grant, so.
That's the one under ambulance services?
Yeah, it's all included with the DSAP
Yeah.
apportionment.
Because it is a big difference.
Land ambulance, it keeps going up. We're trying to, I think the DSABs, they have some pretty aggressive targets in achieving their goals, and it's reflected in the budget, especially for land ambulance.
We should, as a community, whoever's on DSAP would know, we should be asking asking for a report of some sort for the ambulance. How we're spending a lot more on ambulance, and how is that affecting our ambulance service in town? We have a lot of calls that the fire department attends to people in medical need because the ambulance can't get there in time.
You remember we brought in this with Untitled a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
And what his explanation, if I remember right, be corrected here, but there's many areas in his jurisdiction where they're putting more and more ambulance stations, and so they can cover the areas better. And that's why it costs her.
And they're
She said
increasing
they're aggressive.
They're increasing their levels of service for municipalities that, previously didn't have 24-hour ambulance attendants on call. They've increased that, as well as had to redo some of their stations. I think that there's a full report on their website, actually, on
Be kind of curious to see what the response time for our ambulance calls in the community are. Okay, thank you.
So under health services too, then we have our cemetery as well. I don't know if there are any specific questions. I have 104, but it might be your page 103, I'm not sure.
502, I think.
Okay.
No, I just noticed for wages, and it may be coding again, I don't know. For actuals in 2017, we're at 21,000, and we had budgeted 34, and we're budgeting 34 again. But maybe at the bottom,
Those are those spots where we're having that problem with the entry. Remember, I was trying to enter the numbers and remember that. So I don't have that number as what I had budgeted for.
Oh, okay.
I have 25,000.
Oh, okay, so we could probably reduce that a little then.
That was where we were having that problem.
Yeah, we were having problems with the system, with all the software support we pay. The system doesn't always work very well, and it doesn't always take the changes, so Dave said he had reduced that to 25,000.
And zero the part-time.
So,
Okay, so you think we can reduce that to 25? That would be great.
you mean, which one? The 34?
Take roughly $5,000 or 10,000 out of it then.
Yeah. Maybe. Okay. Yeah.
So that was pretty much it for health services, and then under social services, we've already looked at the DSAB apportionment there. So in caravan, this year we're pretty different in that our grant was increased significantly. So this grant, we never know from one year to the next what it's going to be, or if under their program requirements, if we'll be able to use it. If we don't meet certain expenditure levels, then we have to put that into a reserve. We're not allowed to spend it in that year, so we have had to do that in the past, I think in 2016, for example. But then when we do finally get our new caravan this year, we're able to pull from that reserve to offset those costs. So we do still anticipate getting our new caravan, and with the additional federal grant we received, plus what we have in reserves for this, it's fully covered. You know what a date on that? Anytime.
Could we just get a new provincial grant for that also? Or no? Was that, it was one here just 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Well, I think it was the 45,000
Yeah,
just came,
yeah,
was just announced, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't, We haven't received that much in the time that I've been here anyways, so.
Yeah, $900,000 doesn't fit there.
Yeah, so with that, there's no other real proposed changes under the caravan services. And we have senior snow removal falls under this category as well. And our donation that we make annually to the seniors club is also reflected at $2,000, so.
And I'm sure the senior snow removal, that's a guesstimate, I realize that is the amount of snow like that. We only shoveled that, so.
Correct.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at actuals and budget last year. We budgeted 2,000, we should have been over, I guess. So we increased it 40%.
So we're probably taking in, senior citizens owner.
I think that's it for me. So next is POA, I guess. I'm not sure if there's any other questions.
No? Go ahead.
I'm not sure what the processes of everybody else doing, but basically the only, some of the bigger changes that are in the POA budget are the equipment line and the software support. There's a increase in both of those, and that was at the suggestion of our IT person, indicating that we require a new server. He's indicated that the current one that we have is due for replacement immediately. He's not sure if and when it will break down, but it's very old, and it's one, if it did break down, that we would be without Icon, our main system. So he's suggesting that that be done as soon as possible. So that's where the increase for his time and for the actual equipment.
And the furniture and equipment, is that included in there too?
Yeah, well, there's a separate line for that one.
Yeah, no, I know, and the
Yeah.
increase there is part of the server.
That's right. So
Okay.
it was 7,500 was his estimate for the equipment, and that was divided between Espanola and Ellie Lake.
Okay.
And his time was about 2,500, and again divided by the two.
Okay, so the software portion is his time, and the hardware part of it is under furniture and equipment.
That's right.
Okay.
The only other thing that I can see maybe changing that is not indicated on here is the municipal prosecutor rate. As you remember, the ministry has indicated that they're not going to be doing part 3s anymore, which is being done by the prosecutors from Sudbury, but they're no longer going to be doing that. They're giving that to the municipalities. And they had given us a timeline of 2 years, and from what I'm hearing from other municipalities, they're starting May and June of this year, so that might have to change. We do have a line in there for adjudication, or pardon me, for prosecution expenses, and that is for part 3s, but that doesn't include any prep time. That's just the court time.
That's page 71, I think, on ours.
Yeah.
That's right,
Yep.
yes. So that might have to increase to the municipal prosecutor, because he's going to be taking over the part 3s.
I had a question under the previous page. Under regular wages, last year's actual was 48,000. The budgeted number was 63, and this year we're going to 65.
The reason for that is because the vacation and lieu of benefits, all that is not included. You can see those
Yes,
rates are zeros.
Mhm.
So we never know what the budget for that, so it's all included in the total and then divided up afterward. Is that correct?
Just the allocation,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just the allocation.
Okay, there's an item line here which is net payable to municipal partners. That's our prosecutor then, or you were talking about municipal prosecutor and net payable to municipal partners? What would that?
That's the remainder of the revenue at the end of the year that's given back to the partners.
Okay, so that goes, okay. So that goes off to Elliott Lake and
Line River and
Yeah.
those partners, but there's also some shares for Espanola, which are Narren, Baldwin, and South Spanish River, so it's all divided.
okay, so we really don't have much control. It just depends on where the time was spent on that.
No, it goes by percentage of population and household.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, the other communities, which we're not too worried about.
Not worried about that.
Okay, that's, any more questions in that area?
Yeah, I still, wages again, on this revenue, I guess. No, it's under expense. It's on page 72.
It's Elliott Lake.
That's it, like that one?
That's Elliott Lake.
Where does it say that?
Yeah. 72 and,
72 is Elliott Lake.
Yeah, okay.
72
70
and,
and 71 is Espanola.
yeah, 72 and 73 are Elliott Lake, yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you. Commercial services, is that where we are, or what, or planning and zoning?
Yeah, sorry.
Planning and zoning,
I got a page number for that.
that's page 141.
Oh, there it is. Thank you.
So, there really isn't a lot there. It really depends on what, what applications we receive. You can see the 2017 actuals are, for the revenue, are higher because we did receive we have that one proposed development on the table, and, weren't expecting that. So it's always, it really depends. That's hard to budget. And then we started putting wages into this area as well. So I'm allocating some of my time to this area now to reflect, some true costs. And then we were going through the official plan review, which was in the 2017 budget, and you can see that it's been reduced because that is pretty much, we're just waiting for ministry approval on that.
Okay, good. You notice the legal's a little higher, but that can go up and down for a bit.
So that's usually offset with the revenues.
Okay,
For the most part, I mean, we do get inquiries that there are no applications for that. Sometimes it's something legal with land that we own, or questions that are, beyond. It could be with issues with our land and a property owner, where we require advice that we just don't get revenue for. So.
Satisfied there.
I guess that gets us to, not sure where we are here now. What was commercial services there anyway? I was looking at
It
that.
all falls, that was when we had the building across the
Oh,
street.
okay, it was on that and I couldn't find it. So that leaves general inspections. And that's on page 62. Building services, page 62.
That's our shared services with the other three townships, Baldwin, Narren, and Davis Spanish Rivers. It's going well. There's a few hiccups here and there that we're going through, but everything else seems to be working fine. I don't know if there's any questions on that one, or?
And we're ahead of the game by $12,400 by doing what we're doing.
That's the, if I'm not mistaken, that's the 15% that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
The building permits and inspection services, the big change there is, I was anticipating the new school, the fee for the permit for that, but it didn't go through last year. Again, we put it back in for 2018 because they're still talking about going ahead with it, so that's the biggest change.
You mean it's still talking? It's not,
Well-
I mean, the last I heard somewhere, it looked like it was almost a definite go for this year. But
They tendered the project.
Yes.
they have, well, so that's a good thing.
If there's any questions there.
Standard.
And we have property standards. Again, that's a tough one because a lot of times we resolve things over the phone. But we've lowered the $15,000 down to $5,200 for 2018.
And that's based more on the actual timing, the time you've had to use,
Well, what we're doing is, that's the actual time that when we go out on site.
okay.
And I don't know why it's still in there, but animal control is not mine. Neither is the electrical inspections.
That's the outside contractors that do our buildings anyway, isn't it?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Just to put things in perspective, in 2014, the expenses were 221, 15, 209, 16, 202, last year 215, so things look like they're relatively in line here.
So,
Eh?
63 here.
Well, you don't have the
No, he doesn't
previous
have-
years.
he has some-
I went and took the
I know.
info, yeah,
63 things.
yeah,
you're just summarizing.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. We don't have fire on this, but,
But the fire chief is away this week, so we're
Okay.
gonna add him when police and library come back.
Oh, okay.
sure, okay. That would be the emergency planning as well.
Yeah, that's his area.
And we've done the building services, so we basically have covered off everything except water and sewer, yeah, sorry.
I cover the operating portion, I think the capital's already mostly gone over. I don't, my page numbers don't jive with yours, so.
They might not all. Might be around 164 or something.
It is. Perfect.
164, I can speak to the regular wages and payroll, 1201, 1511. Just being the portion of administration's wages, Joel's, myself, and Angel's spent on wastewater, sewage.
Okay,
That tax write-offs occurred under expenses under this category.
Clear.
So that would be the taxes for that property, if it was included under the legislation, they have to be completely independent, and that has to be funded from water and sewer.
Oh, I see, okay.
So we still do the calculation, so that would be their tax bill for that property.
one thing I noticed on that, and that is our revenue for 2017 was a lot less than we forecast. Is that because we haven't received it all, or?
That's right, we're waiting for hydro for that last payment.
Okay, okay. So the revenue pretty much shouldn't match our expectations there.
The interesting thing there is the recoveries code. And that's the big piece that we're bill on.
So last year we got some money that we weren't expecting.
And is that going to continue this year? Do we know?
It's hard to say, they're hauling from
I know they're hauling from one particular place.
Steady, yeah, and I don't know what the long-term plan is, you know what I mean? I don't,
Okay.
Is this the plan, hauling from where?
Yeah, down the street.
Out the highway?
Yeah.
Is that right? Well, the other part of that is we raised our rates a fair bit there. So I was wondering about the impact of that, and maybe we should assume some recoveries in our budget.
Well, I've kind of captured it in the, I think, as a total.
Okay, Yeah, I noticed
I
it.
can review that to see what it is, because, I mean, it's been a little hard to forecast with the increases we did on the commercial side.
okay,
Because it doesn't affect, everyone the same.
okay.
I can review that.
Of course, it won't affect the levy anyway.
No, it's just the water and sewer portion of the levy. Okay, good. Next page is 165, and that's the water reserve and financial applications. I noticed we repaid $198,000 towards our normal $100,000 loan repayment.
No, those are our regular payments.
Oh, they
You'll
are,
see
right?
the same under, so we just haven't adjusted that at year end.
Oh, okay.
So that includes the principal, but once we take the principal portion out of that, it'll be under the 100,000.
Okay. I was just wondering about that
Yeah,
because
no, we
I
didn't
thought,
pay extra, just there's a year end adjustment outstanding.
I was sort of hoping we could roll some of that forward and reduce the impact.
Doesn't
Okay.
affect it wouldn't affect the taxes anyway.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. The plant operations,
So good.
we started with an amortization expense of $245,000 last year. And I guess we haven't just booked it yet this year, eh?
Right,
Yeah.
it'll be higher, I kind of just play with the amortization figure to get the water and sewer accounts to zero out.
Okay.
So it's not the full amount at all, we're not
Okay.
recovering the full amount of amortization in that area.
Okay. I noticed a big increase in parts. Do we have anything special out there that we're expecting to spend money on?
yes. Yes. Replace both diesel generator tanks. It's estimated at 14,000. There's all the oxygen monitoring equipment, estimated at 9,000. Replace generator batteries, there's a $1,000 charge, and we always keep it a miscellaneous, like a float in there of $10,000 just for things that break throughout the year that you don't plan.
Sure.
Which happens every year.
Sure. Okay, I noticed we've been spending a fair bit there anyway, so it's not as if,
And I understand from Joel there that we have a problem that's, just, do you have any idea of the cost on it? That's just popped up.
$25,000.
Yeah, an unexpected cost of 25,000 in the clarifiers. That's
okay,
just popped up in the last few weeks.
okay,
Yes, since you were.
okay. Okay, thank you. Page 167, which is the Wastewater Services. I noticed a big bump up on the wages.
Yeah, this is the swing back from anticipating of flushing storm sewer one year and then getting into sanitary the other year. So we bounced some money back and forth between those two codes, the storm sewer collection as well and the sanitary sewer collection. So we finished off storm sewer. Took us almost 2 full seasons to get that done, unfortunately. And so I put some money back into the sanitary to flush that as our priority this year. Flush the system.
Okay, good.
Dave, what is specialist pay? What's that?
Specialist pay, we have premiums built into our contract for the employees that hold licenses to work in the system.
Oh,
So we have sewer collection, sanitary sewer collection licensed operators. There's a premium in there that we pay them to hold that license.
okay.
And I noticed in the regular wages in 2016, they were up at 34,000, so you can see that reflection of some of that cycle. Okay, thank you. Storm sewer?
Just, that answered actually.
This is a tough one. Our spring thaw, just to touch on it, our spring thaw comes out of this section as well. So last year, the spring thaw was ultimately nothing. It was extremely minor, whereas other years, you've got 3-4 weeks of overtime and running steam jennies all day, getting culverts and frozen storm sewer pipes. So it's hard to estimate. It's looking like this is gonna be a bad year for that. So just to give you an idea that this is a tough one to really pin down.
Okay.
I have pulled some money out in the wages for the flushing purposes for that reason, but it's hard to say if I've done a lot of it.
I just have a little clarification, maybe it's in there. It says wages, and I'm looking at it, and then you look at payroll burden and fringes. And then I'm looking at the wages for 2018 and the payroll burden and fringes. I mean, the wages, not much difference, but it's like the burden and payroll.
The percentage was incorrect, eh? Remember that?
40-some%.
Yeah, with some of the water and sewer codes, they were set up like partway through the year last year, so not all the burden was getting allocated there. I think that's, so.
Yeah, 40-some%, it can't be not that much on that.
It's based on
It's
whatever,
about, it's
35%.
between 30 to 35% is our payroll.
No, but I was looking at the wages, and then when I seen it, the wages weren't that much difference, but there was a 40-some% payroll burden.
Oh, for the 2017 actual?
Yeah.
So we did allocate some of the payroll burden where it was under. So this could be, it might include a little bit of payroll burden from a different area.
Different area?
It shouldn't, I'm not sure exactly. I can review that, but I'll review it and see.
Like the burden, according, when you look at it compared to wages, it's kind of off there somewhere. It appears to be anyway.
In the old, you mean in the actual value?
Yeah.
The actual
Oh, sure.
for 2017?
Mm-hmm. Like we're only talking 3,000
1%
different from the budget, but we're talking like 6,000 plus on the burden.
Well, I would suggest the burden was budgeted incorrectly for
Mhm.
2017.
Maybe.
Because it's less than 10%, and we know our burden is between 30 and 35.
I can speak to that because I did the budget in 2017
Oh, yeah.
and I based it on the previous actual values. I based it on that. And so I wasn't using the proper formula, which I did this year, which is the 30 to 35%. So
Shame on you for about a week and a half now.
Okay, water treatment. Nothing much there. Then we have reserve and finance applications. That looks like it's the same. Or maybe it's the other part of the plant there for that, and with the 198,000 actually is going to probably disappear to 100,000. Plant operations. Amortization of $321,000 is not booked yet. Under the actual.
Big hydro increase.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. We put in more efficient blowers and power costs drop, should be down a little bit. Maybe we're not that far off, but I thought that project was supposed to drop the power quite a bit.
So I've dropped the hydro 5,000. I've estimated that the 2018 hydro cost should be around 113 to 115,000. I do have a 5,000 buffer in there for fluctuations that I'm not going to be aware of. You know what I mean? It depends. I think there is some correlation to winters in there. I do believe. I'm not sure if there's electric heaters in the offices and that or not, but. I mean, you could reduce that by 5,000.
Well, let's do that. We're just trying to.
115?
Yeah. may or may not need it, but, no, those blowers were supposed to save us, I can't remember, quite a bit of money.
I've been eking that number down, just, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
as the years are going on, and it's,
Yeah.
Of course, we're also fighting the increases that we get every year too.
Yeah, like I was looking here, if I go back several years, we've got 100,000, 114, 92 last year. Okay, so that may be the impact of the blowers.
the blowers are sewage plant, this is water plant.
Okay, sorry.
We have made upgrades at the water plant, the LED lighting systems, and we have done some upgrades there, so I'm comfortable with 115. I mean,
Okay.
we may exceed it.
Sure.
Outside contractors in this area. What are we looking at?
Outside contractors? Let's flip it over. So there we've got our aqua contract to operate the plant. Here, I'll give you the list of planned. SCADA programming changes, we always throw a little bit of money in there, 2,100. Tempered water at Iowa stations estimated at 3,500. Replace pinion gear on clarifiers, $20,000. Seal floor cracks and chemical containment, $7,500. Replace generator transfer switches, a huge line item there, $67,500. With that
That's
transfer,
coming up this year?
yes, that's what we got budgeted for this year. Yeah, generator transfer switch is the automatic transfer switch that when there's a power outage, it
Yeah.
flips you over to generator automatically. So they've done a lot of testing on that. They've done had contractors in that, and it's ready to be swapped out. That's a big cost. That's the biggest cost for sure of the year. And then we've got a bit of cushion in there, $20,000.
Yeah, because I'm looking over actual last year, we're talking $90,000.
That's 7,500 is a huge one. The pinion gears is another large one as well.
Yeah. That's above and beyond what normally. Sure.
It varies there, right? Like it depends. You may get a real light year every 4 or 5 years, maybe. Maybe you get a light year because you're looking good, but everything there wears out. That plant's 20 years old now.
The pipes and parts, are we planning to do major replacement?
Pipes and parts, we're replacing diesel tanks here as well. The plants were built at basically the same time, and we have the same contractor come in to do those inspections.
So a little bit went up there.
Yes, yeah. Analyzer probe replacement, $7,000. Level transducer, it's a Lilith building, $8,300. Miscellaneous, $10,000. You buffer for expected.
Can I make one suggestion there, Cynthia, to take a look at, and that is, we set aside for outside contractors $360,000. I guess it doesn't matter too much, but we spent almost $100,000 less. It's not going to impact the taxes. I don't
No, it
believe
doesn't.
it. It just gives us a little bit more reserves, and we're going to need that anyway. Okay.
Follow up on that, there could be an outstanding invoice too.
I know that there, from when I did the estimate to now, we did a reallocation of the chemicals. So the chemicals came out of the outside contracts and went into the chemical budget. I know there was some capital work they didn't get to last year. But I can look into that for sure.
So next one's Water Services. And we've added in an amortization expense of 100, no, I guess we have it. So amortization not booked on the actuals. It's 124,000, so it puts it pretty close to budget. And we have
Yeah, it's actually gonna be bang on.
yeah. Okay. Service locates. Small increase in the budget. Elevated storage at the water tower. I was sort of wondering what that outside contractor, $125,000 expense was.
That was gonna go up, that should go up to 28. I just read that report this morning, it came while I was off. And the list of work there in the fall arrest system, the fall arrest systems are at towers, it needs to be inspected annually as the type of system it is. It's a center rail and all that stuff. So there's some upgrades to the fall arrest system in the amount of estimated $7,800. And related to other planned work separate from that, there's the annual inspection. They go and they check the ladder and they check all that stuff, but they also go up check hatches and things on the roof. So there's an annual inspection charge of $2,200. Install engineered anchor point and relocate gun wheel. Again, I have to look into that. That's a $4,000 item. Surface prep and paint. Access to lower 20 inches dry size, probably related to corrosion, $1,200. And exterior pressure wash, $12,000. The exterior is starting to get quite a buildup of black. I'm not sure if it's mold or what it is, but leaving it on will attack that exterior paint surface. So a pressure wash to clean that off, and you've told me that they will do spot repairs as well. So spot repairs of adding new paint, as long as obviously they're not too large.
So is there any-
I thought they just did a job there.
We painted it. We painted it in 2009, I believe.
Well, that one.
And we've pressure washed it once since that painting.
Well-
So the pressure washing is clearing that dirt and all that stuff that's gonna hold impurities or whatever, and it would prematurely age the paint.
Because I was under the impression that you had to clean it very well before, because these guys were welding or something.
Well, that was
That was the
inside.
interior. That was
Yeah.
the interior.
We're
2 years
talking-
ago.
you're
Just the
talking just the
exterior.
outside?
Sorry,
Okay.
if I wasn't clear about that, I'm sorry. The exterior of the tank is what I'm.
Okay.
Yeah, me.
So if you look at the tank, I mean, you can clearly see the dirt and all that building up, and that's not good for paint, I'm sorry. It wasn't clear.
No, it's good.
So in summary, what we're talking about really is to make sure we clean the outside surface to preserve the paint job that we did before, 9 years ago, because that's probably pretty expensive to do
Yeah,
that from
at the
scratch.
time when we did that, it was between $80,000 and $90,000 to do that paint.
Okay, and the other part of it there is safety, okay, related
Yeah.
to safety aspects there, inspections and.
The inspections are an absolute minimum. If you don't perform some of the safety things, the inspection may fail those things.
Yeah.
Now you have to come up with some other method of being able to climb that tower, climb
Yeah,
those ladders,
yeah.
and that's where, now it might get more expensive to perform the climbing to do the
Sure.
proper inspections.
And we don't want to chintz on the safety of the
No,
people or
and the
whatever
other
that
part-
work with that.
The other part of cleaning, what I like is they're willing, if there are spots that aren't too hard, touching them up, and that would extend the life considerably too, I would think.
Yeah. Okay, page 175, the biosolids, and what we're gonna do is use the grant and some reserves to turn around and maybe you can tell us what what they're really looking at there. What's the,
So this is the study, I'll let Joel speak to that.
I mean, it's still in the early stages of the project. We received the staff report, and what they're starting off is looking at the optimization of the plant and the digesters. And then we're expecting another report at the end of March, I believe. And what it's on specifically, I just don't have an answer for it yet. But the idea is to look at our biosolids, and then look at trying to manage our biosolids internally so that we're not paying the cost to ship to Sudbury and or the cost to have it disposed of in Sudbury. So it could offset. Also including in that biosolid study is some of the Waste Free Ontario Act and how we're going to manage a lot of that. Some of those acts, because there may be opportunities, for example, because we won't be able to take our biosolids to landfill. That's one of the things that's going to be covered under the new act. So it's just kind of trying to look at everything from a start to finish, so that we could.
We can't go to landfill now, that's gonna be definite?
Nope.
We can, but I mean.
We can if we meet certain
Yeah.
criteria, okay.
Yeah, but the legislation is coming that no organics will be going to landfill. It hasn't passed
Yeah.
yet, but it's the direction that the province is moving in. So that it's going to be another hurdle to manage. So let's say we had gone to, like, for example, geotubes years ago that council had looked at, and that presents a different problem moving forward. So we're just trying to look at biosolids, all our history, all of the new technologies that we have, and saying, well, what is a good solution for the municipality?
If I could just add, so this is the study, Alp was kind of spearheading this for us, and so it takes the results of the previous sludge study that we
Sure.
had done, along with the pilot project that we had done, was that last 2 summers ago now?
No, awesome.
So it's incorporating all that to find the best solution for Espanola for to deal with their sludge, and keeping in mind what we know is coming in the future, because we had preliminary, it was expected we would be able to landfill it. Now that's not the case, so what would be the alternative if that's not the case?
That's crazy, you know?
So is there a certain percentage of water that has to be out of it before you can landfill it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like how much, 12%, 4%, what?
I believe,
Close.
well, it's not just about percentage of water. it's
There's
also-
still other things to factor
It's
in,
about
right?
stabilizing the stu-
I see.
I mean, the solution might be to just continue like we're going to, but I mean, it's just trying to look at everything and the upcoming changes, Is this good for the municipality?
Yeah, so the original plan was to buy geotubes, and then we turned around and said, look, that's getting pretty expensive. So Aqua came up with the plan with new technology in Europe, and we ran the pilot trials on that, and the pilot trials were successful because at that point our objective was to get our solids up so we could put it in the landfill. Then the government's come along and said, we're gonna change the legislation, so you can't put that stuff in the landfill, or our product wouldn't meet the criteria to do that. Is that fair to say?
Well, organic
Yes,
is what
but
you said.
part of the council's concern, geotubes, when we received the estimate,
Yeah.
it was kind of, this will be really good for the municipality, won't cost so much, we went to tender, we were $1 million.
Yeah,
Council said, no, that's not acceptable
Yeah.
for us. That's, is there another solution, or we're gonna take another look at it.
sure.
So when we had the trial pilot project as well, I mean, yes, at that time it's saying, yeah, we could take it to landfill, but then when we looked at construction costs, I think we were a little bit more than geotubes.
Yeah, we're still up there, but we
So-
saved some energy relative to having to aerate the digester, if I recall correctly.
Yes, and so we weren't traveling to Sudbury,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so I mean, we did manage to save some money, but I mean, it's one of those things that council has to decide, what's our return on investment?
Sure.
And then the CWWF funding, no, sorry, it's not the CWWF, it's a different funding. I think it's a Green Municipal Fund. And say, well, and it's an opportunity for us to say, well, let's go back and look at everything, and then once this plan gets, the study gets complete, there may be opportunities to access funds. So it could still be geotubes, it could be a screw press, it could be something else, but then we'll actually qualify for those
grant.
municipal funds, and that was the main driver.
And that lowers our capital cost to make it much more feasible.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's,
The unfortunate thing with all
Yeah.
that though is the problem comes out, like you said, you can't put organic in landfill, and
Yeah.
we're trying to meet the criteria to be able to go to landfill. Now, they haven't done that yet,
Correct.
but they're looking at that. So you meet all this criteria to be able to landfill, and then they say, no organic to landfill. Well, you went through all this process to get there. So then you look at something else, I guess. They change the rules, they don't always have the solution though.
Or provide municipalities the funding to
To
manage.
do whatever they
Yeah.
want down the road.
That's right.
and a small community becomes a pretty expensive proposition.
That's right.
Okay, page 170 is just the water meters, and you've already covered that, okay? We've got some additional costs left this year. And the water main rehabilitation, that is the Highway 6, I guess, eh?
No,
This
not
is
the water main rehabilitation. So this is, there's actually 2 projects in here. I have to create another department to break it out, but the engineering that we got done through CWWF, some of that has rolled over to 2018.
Okay.
So that's included in there, and then the OSIF grant to cover the first, phase 2A, I guess, of that engineered work for Jean and Catherine.
Okay.
Is the second part of that project.
Okay.
So we're looking at getting the provincial grant for that and using some of our federal gas tax dollars for as well.
Okay, good. Well, I guess we've covered everything, okay? We may have, is there anything else that anybody wanted to bring up?
Yeah. We were talking about burdens a while ago, and we were talking, I think, we said 35% or something?
35% burden compared to the
Yeah. Just give me a second until I find where I'm
Done.
Page, I think 70.
70?
I think so. Is that right? Yeah. Look. Yeah. Not sure what I did here. Yeah, it is. It is. Maybe that's not the one I wanted to talk about. That was my problem. I think it was touched on. The other one over here, I think I wasn't here. And that's page 80. 82.
82.
There's a very high,
82.
it's a very high burden to that. I don't know why.
That's sort of a general account.
Yeah. Is that what that is?
I brought that one up.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's.
The ones that don't have a category on it, that's the one that doesn't have a category, it's all
That's
kind
the
of lumped in.
unclassified category, 300, 399, yeah.
Yeah.
That's- Yeah.
So that's why you see almost no labor in there, it just.
No, that's right, but I
it's just,
see, little blurbs of things, but nothing that would affect the burden to that effect.
It may have been in other departments, but it's some of the residual carryover, some of the benefits across the
I
board.
think what,
That's a lot of
I
carry.
let Cynthia speak, but what I understood when you said it earlier, Cynthia, is all the ones that really never were put into certain categories are in here, and down the road, we're hoping there'll be zero here, because they'll each have their own category where they're right, and right now, they don't have a code for it, so everything that doesn't have a code gets lumped into this one.
Okay.
It's just about keeping, just coding, actually, is all it is.
And I'll go back 4 years, just for your information. Back in 2014, there was $430,000 in this expenses, 297, 270, and it's sort of generally been whittled down, okay? And I guess the objective is
It's
to.
on its way up again.
Yeah.
No, it's a decrease, 293 down to 277.
293, 277, that's
Yeah,
right.
we're reducing it there, okay, but anyway, we've gone 430, 297, 270, 238.
Oh, yeah, 238, yeah, 277, that's right. The other one was just regular. Okay, no, that was my question. I wanted to know where that was laying.
Anybody else have anything? All right, if nobody else has something, I had one.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry. I had one item there that it was in the, towards the end of the handout information that had the, just before Treasury, we had a reserve section. And I was reviewing the reserves, okay, and there was one item that hit me in here.
Page 22, I got
So
it.
you got your,
22?
Actually, doesn't have a page number.
doesn't have a page, but you hit the tab Treasury, and it's the 2 pages before that. And there was one item that hit me there, okay, that I had a question on. And I just have to find it again. I wrote that down. It was about a reserve that started this year of $186,000, if I can find it. And it was under, yeah, it was under building services. We were gonna add a reserve of $186,000 this year.
Right, so
Second
that's
page.
because of their legislation, any surplus that they have in their area has to go into a reserve to offset future expenses. And so it's reflecting the new building permit for the new school. So
Okay,
that would put that department in a surplus, and we can't
Okay.
use that surplus to offset other departments, so we'll put it into a reserve. And if it materializes, then we can draw from that reserve to fund the building services, you know,
Okay.
in the next couple of years or whatever, but until that materializes, we are left with it.
But that's good, it's money in the bank, for that department.
Yeah,
for years where we don't have
Yeah,
as much revenue, so you can, okay. That makes sense, okay, good. And there may be a couple of other things later, but I think we're good there now because we're gonna have one more kick at the can. My understanding is you got the information back from Police Services Board,
yes,
and that, I think, reduces the budget, our starting point from over 4% to down to about 3.3 or something like that.
yeah. And capital
Yeah,
improvement.
so,
And you should have the library by now too?
I haven't heard anything from the library.
Oh, okay.
okay, now.
You will.
Yeah. We had a few things that we sort of talked about earlier, okay, that we were gonna come back to. We had car allowance, under transportation to
Were we gonna
reduce.
come back to it now, Bill, or when we get?
Well, we can do it later on.
I thought we were gonna do it after we get
Yeah,
all
I
the
did
other
too.
departments.
Yeah.
Then, when we look at the end, but.
You know, that, I can live with that. That's a reasonable time to do it there, so
Yeah.
it gives us, once we know where we stand,
Mhm.
we can be more or less aggressive.
Yeah,
Okay?
perfect.
Okay, thank you. Motion to adjourn at 12:05. All those in favor?